The Loner by Joe McDonough. Read by Crash Cole. Chapter 1. The morning sunrise breaks the darkness of the southern Arizona skies. The red desert landscape, peppered with saguaro cactus and scrub weeds, is still quiet. An empty, gray, two-lane road cuts through the desert, cracked and faded from the wear and tear with the desert heat. It looks to be a lonely place. Off in the distance, the silence is broken by a distant rumble. With the Doppler effect, the sound gets louder. Up over a hill, a bright headlight appears. First, it's a mere beacon. As it gets closer, it's clear the headlight is singular. The rider, on a black Harley-Davidson Street Glide, is dressed in black leather, black helmet, sunglasses, and a sinister-looking bandana, protecting his face from the dust and bugs. The shiny chrome of the engine primary cover, front forks, and crash bars glisten in the sunlight. The rider looks like a cross between a knight and an outlaw, right out of the days of Jesse James and Billy the Kid. A slumbering coyote raises its head toward the bike thundering down the road. More than an hour later, the bike catches a glimpse off the road about where a handful of large birds were flying around. He slows down, looks over at a pile of sun-bleached bones of a large carcass, surrounded by a few vultures picking at whatever meat is left. The biker sees that it's too large to be human. With a skull and horns, he concludes it's a cow. There are no signs of fencing, no post or barbed wire, and given the dry, barren desert, it's unlikely there would be any ranch anywhere nearby. The next settlement is 30 miles down the road, and there have been no sign of civilization for the past 80 miles. The biker wonders where this cow could have come from. Without getting off his rumbling bike, he studies the curious scene. Then he pulls out from the shoulder and back on the desolate road to continue his journey. 25 miles later, the lone biker comes up to a broken-down sign announcing the town of Redwater. Its name has historical significance. When settlers arrived, they discovered a well where, although harmless, the water had a reddish tinge from minerals and red dirt. Today, as the loner will soon learn, the town's name of Redwater has a more contemporary and darker meaning. After passing a few houses, the loner spots a gas station on the right-hand side of the road. He pulls in under the station's canopy, grabbing an appreciated bit of shade from the blazing sun. Takes stand down, he dismounts, pulls his helmet off his head, giving his head a bit of relief from the hot, stuffy brain bucket, and pulls the handkerchief down, exposing a short and neatly trimmed goatee and mustache that rings his mouth. The biker appears to be in his late 20s or early 30s. A middle-aged homeless man with a thick blondish-gray beard and long hair tucked under a baseball cap approaches him. "Hey, buddy, you got some spare change?" He wears an old, dirty white t-shirt, ripped khaki pants, and worn-out tennis shoes. He carries a stained, raggedy backpack holding his worldly belongings. The loner shrugs. "Sorry, dude." The lone biker slides a credit card in to activate the pump, places the nozzle into the thirsty gas tank, and hits the 97 octane, the highest octane which motorcycles require. The homeless man takes a squeegee out of the dirty gray water at the windshield cleaning station, pulls some sheets of paper towel out of the dispenser, and is about to use them to wipe down the windshield fairing of his bike. Hey, what are you doing?" the loner asks. "Hey, buddy, you got a lot of bugs and crude here on the front of your motorcycle," the homeless man responds. "That's okay, just leave it alone." With that, the loner pulls out his wallet, takes out a $5 bill. "Here, friend, take this Lincoln. Go get yourself a sandwich or some beer." The homeless man takes his money and thanks him. "You know, here in town you can make a lot of money. That is, if you don't get yourself killed trying to make it," he says as he turns away and makes himself up the road. The loner watches the poor guy and shakes his head at the irony of some down-and-out panhandler giving financial advice. He begins pumping. The loner hears Harleys approaching and spots 3 bikers coming in and pull up to the other side of the gas pump island. None of these 3 are wearing helmets, as Arizona has no mandatory helmet laws. Normally, when a biker sees another motorcyclist, there tends to be some kind of camaraderie, whether it's in passing each other on the road with a friendly wave or a welcome acknowledgement at a bar or gas station, where conversations tend to start up, usually mostly motorcycle talk. Sometimes the conversations move on to a couple of beers, possibly friendships, rides together, and even lifelong bonds. This lone biker does not belong to any club or motorcycle organization. Therefore, he has no reason to be bothered by any potential biker rivalries, politics, or drama. As a lone independent biker, you would usually be looked at like a neutral individual, much like any civilian. A biker term for anyone who is not a member of a motorcycle club. It's pretty natural for a biker to see others as a welcome sight. Somehow, the loner feels unease. He can't put his finger on why. Is it their attire, their demeanor? Something is off about them. The loner has come across all kinds of outlaw clubs and has met some very notorious and scary characters. And yet, as long as he's been respectful of them, there's been a polite and cordial relationship. Every now and then, there's someone who either has a few too many drinks and wants to size him up, or perhaps someone is just having a bad day allowing tensions to rise. But usually, if another biker or an MC just wants to be left alone, at the very worst, it may just be a snub or a discreet way of telling him to keep walking. But overall, it comes down to basic respect. If you give respect, you get respect. Usually. Folks don't just start shit up with any random person unless there's a reason to. On the other hand, for many of those in the biker community, it may not take much for a violent response to occur if someone unwittingly shows a sign of disrespect. One thing that could be an issue is if a citizen happens to wear a t-shirt or have a sticker on their bike that may show support of some club that could be a rival. And if the citizen is in the wrong territory, and depending upon who one may come across, things could go bad fairly easily. With this loner, he was not sporting anything. No associations or affiliations with anyone. Not even a HOG emblem, Harley Owners Group, a made-up organization put together by Harley-Davidson Corporation that helps network Harley owners for get-togethers, rides, fundraisers, and other events. It's a safe place for those who want to get together with like-minded bikers without getting caught up in a real club that can have a slew of issues that many people don't wish to deal with. Here at the gas station, the three bikers speak a mix of Spanish and English, Spanglish. The loner gives them a polite nod. The three just look back at each other. One of them, Hammerhead, steps around the pump and peeking at the lone biker's license plate, sees it's out of state. Hammerhead is a sergeant-at-arms for the club, Los Soldados del Diablo. The loner makes eye contact with Hammerhead and gives another polite nod to him. Hammerhead responds to the loner, who is still pumping. "Hey, Holmes, you out of your home turf, aren't you?" Not sure in what context, or meaning Hammerhead meant by his comment, the loner replies in somewhat smart-aleck manner. "Yeah, and your point is?" Hammerhead walks up to him face to face. The loner eyes a front patch with the biker's title. On the left side of the vest is a diamond-shaped gold patch with a 1% on it in black lettering. Below that are 3 pins of crossed hammers. Each of the crossed hammers indicate the number of people he has killed with his hammer, which is how he got his nickname. The center of the patch is a red shirtless devil with green camo pants and black boots holding an assault rifle in one hand and a pitchfork in the other. Not appreciating the loner's response, barks back to the loner. "If you're smart, you may want to get on your bike and ride your ass out of here." Not known to be good at taking orders, the loner looks around and without making any more eye contact says, "Really? As far as I know, this is still north of the border here in the U.S. A free country. So who knows? I might decide I might want to hang out here. Well, that's my right. I don't know you any more than a man on the moon. So I really don't have to answer to you," the loner responds. One of the other soldados, Raymond Solis, looks over at Hammerhead. "Damn, Essie, he told you off." Hammer looks over in a very perturbed manner and then looks back at the loner, and without saying a word, he just quietly nods. Inside the store, a middle-aged Pete works behind the counter. Pete owns a gas station and convenience store. He grew up in Redwater, and after years of working at the gas station, the original owner decided to get out of the business and sold it to him. Pete looks out the window and watches the interaction between his gang and this outsider. The loner goes to use the restroom. As he walks away from his bike, he mistakenly leaves the gas cover open. Hammerhead devilishly grins at his guys, and there he looks down into the fuel hole in the tank, seeing an opportunity to give a little "fuck you" to the loner. Hammerhead grunts, clears his throat, and spits into the tank. And then he backs up a step, and in one swift kick, his boot sends the bike falling on its end, breaking the right side bracket, the right turn indicator, and scratching the fairing. When the loner reaches the door of the store, he hears the crash of his bike hitting the ground. He turns and runs back, but by then, the three are riding out of the gas station. He can hear them laughing as they take off. The loner squats down, and using his knees with his back against the bike, he struggles to try to lift this heavy bagger. At the weight of almost 900 pounds for a Harley-Davidson FL touring model, this is no easy feat for just one person. But if done the right way, a single person could potentially lift the bike upright. Although, he risks a hernia or serious back injuries. Pete comes running out, still wearing his red shop apron. He crouches on the other side of the bike and helps the loner bring his heavy bagger upright. Pete comes around and pulls on the handlebars in the front crash bar. Once the bike is up, leaning on its kickstand, the loner inspects the damage on his bike. He asks Pete who those assholes are. Pete responds, "I have to say, those guys were right. It might be best if you do leave town. There's nothing here but injury and death." The loner scoffs. Pete added, "I'm not saying it to be an asshole, but I'm just saying it really is not safe here. I myself am looking at closing down and moving out of here when I get the chance. You see, we have these two motorcycle gangs here running the show." Pete points north. "Up the road there, you got the Jester Fiends. Those guys been here since the 1970s. Yeah, they were founded by a few of Vietnam vets. Overall, the Fiends been a bit rowdy, but not until some time ago they've not been too much trouble." Pete then points south, and down there are the Soldado del Diablos, the Devil Soldiers, whom you just met. They rolled in here about 5 years ago. The Soldados got their start in East L.A., but sometime a while back, the Sonora cartel took over the Baja cartel, who've been using the Soldados as drug mules. So, with that, the Sonorians insisted on keeping the Soldados to run their shit through here, which is how and why they set up one of their branches here, you see. The loner asked Pete, "So out of the two, who would you say are the stronger?" "Well, even though the Soldados have the backing of the cartel, the Fiends are more established and a bit more dominant. They have a few more members. The Soldados did try to patch over the Fiends. Patch over means one MC takes another motorcycle club and making them part of their own. Thus, the club taken over would swap out their old cuts for their new club, kind of like a business merger, where one company gives up their title as now becoming part of the dominant company. Jester Fiends were not having any of it. When it comes to giving up their identity, they just laughed in their faces and told them to go get fucked. Since then, they've been at odds and have had a few skirmishes, but overall, the two gangs stay clear of each other. They're both vying for control of the drug trade coming from Mexico." Looking around at his surroundings, the loner nods his head. The Jester Fiends to the north of us, the Soldados to the south. Here I am in this godforsaken gas station with a broken light on my bike. That crazy homeless guy did tell me that I can make some money here in town. "If you're thinking what I think you're thinking, don't even think about it," Pete said, firmly. "So where can I find these Soldados?" Pete hesitated, not wanting to send the loner off to a place where he could get himself killed. He gives in. "If you go into town right there on Main Street, you'll find them at the Drunken Burro. But I'm warning you, young man, don't do it." The loner climbs back on his bike, puts his helmet and bandana back on. "I want you to do me a favor. Call the county medical examiner and have him get 3 slabs ready. A few minutes later, the loner rolls into a 3-block main street, passing the bank, barbershop, cafe, hardware store, real estate office, drugstore, post office, notary, etc., etc. On the loner's left, he spots a stucco adobe-like structure with neon beer and liquor signs in a tinted window. Out front are 5 Harleys parked up against the curb, 2 Road Kings, a Road Glide, and 2 Softails. Some with tall ape hanger handlebars and multicolored blankets rolled up on the front of the handlebars on top of the headlights. The loner backs his bike up against the curb next to them. He dismounts, hangs a small helmet on the handlebar, and walks inside the bar. As he enters the dark and smoky bar, the music on a jukebox plays Mexican polkas. He scans the place. In a corner are a couple of older Mexican men wearing cowboy hats. On his right is a long, empty bar. Behind the bar is a cute Latina in her mid-20s wearing a tight t-shirt and jeans. The loner spots the soldados playing pool in the back room. He pulls up a stool and takes a seat. The barmaid, Yana, has been working here for the last couple of years. She smiles. "I'll take a Corona with no lime and a shot of tequila." She gets the beer, pops off the bottle cap, and places it in front of him. Pulls a bottle off the shelf and pours into a shot glass. Yana is unaware of the reason for this stranger to be in the bar, but if a customer's paying, there's no reason why she should question it. He gulps the shot and takes a swig of the beer as a chaser. He looks over at the back room again, staring at the bikers intently. Finally, catching the eye of one of the soldados that he recognizes from back at the gas station. Ramon taps the shoulder of Hammerhead, who is bent over concentrating on hitting the cue ball to drop a strike. He ignores the tap until he finishes his shot. A second passes. Then the sound of the balls cracking rings through the bar. Then he responds to Ramon. Ramon points over to the bar where the loner is drinking. Hammerhead then stands up. And in a moment of disbelief, he shakes his head and walks over to the bar where the loner is sitting. Others follow Hammerhead. He gets up in the loner's face. "What the fuck, pendejo? You got a lot of huevos coming in here. I thought I told you to get the fuck out of our town." "Well, yeah, you did. But you see, before I leave, I thought we should square things up for the damages you did to my bike," the loner explained. Hammerhead laughs and turns to his guys. "You hear this shit? Motherfucker here wants us to pay for this piece of shit broken bike." They all laugh. Just then, Hammerhead turns back towards the loner in an attempt to sucker punch him. The loner ducks and throws a jab into Hammer's belly. While Hammerhead is doubled over, another soldado pulls out a knife and swings towards him. But the loner twists his arm broken, and the knife drops. With that, the loner punches the third soldado in the face, knocking him back. Just then, Hammerhead comes up with him with his signature ball-peen bloodied hammer. The loner is then knocked to the floor by another soldado. With that, Hammerhead slams his ball-peen hammer down on the loner, but he blocks the strike with his arm. A Glock 9mm appears, aimed at the loner, who is still lying on the floor. The gunman fires a shot but misses. Fortunately for the loner, he has his own piece tucked in his vest. He whips out a Colt 45 semi-automatic handgun and shoots back at the gunman. Just then, everybody breaks out their guns and knives. The loner wastes no time and starts blasting. Bullets go flying through the bar. The loner runs across to the other side of the front room and ducks behind one of the toppled tables. In the midst of the shootout, the 2 older men run out of the front door without getting shot. Behind the bar, Yana is crouched down covering her ears and crying, while bottles above her are exploding like bombs from stray bullets. One by one, the loner manages to get each one of the soldados. After a couple of minutes, which seems like an eternity, anyone in the bar left alive can see things have quietened down. 5 bodies lie dead and scattered about. One lies face down on the pool table with a pool stick still in his hand. Another soldado sits on the floor with his back up against the wall. Another 3 are lying on the floor, including one while trying to make his way towards the door. The loner stands there in the middle of the wreckage. Bullet holes cover the walls. Tables and chairs are turned over and broken, upholstery ripped, broken glass everywhere. With that, the loner calmly walks out. Yana can hear the loner's Harley fire up and leave. She gets up and looks around in shock and disbelief at all the carnage. A few minutes later, the loner pulls up to Pete's convenience store. A couple of more Harleys are parked out front. There, he goes inside and addresses Pete across the counter. "My bad. You might want to let the county coroner know to get 5 slabs ready." Meanwhile, in one of the store aisles, there are 2 other bikers from the Jester Fiends. They overhear the discussion. Sawblade, named for his jagged teeth, from probably years of meth use, is the vice president. The other one is nicknamed Scribe, as he is the club's secretary-treasurer. As the 2 size up the loner, Pete yells, "It looks like this here dude just tilted the table of power towards you guys." The 2 fiends approach the loner. Sawblade asked, with a slight smile, and yet still in disbelief, "Did we hear you right? You took out 5 of the soldados?" He reached out and shakes the loner's hand. "I'm Sawblade, vice president of Jester Fiends." Then loner shakes Scribe's hand. "Scribe, secretary-treasurer for the Jester Fiends. Yo, man, we want you to come back to our clubhouse to meet our president." Sawblade, "He will love to meet you." The loner nods and looks over at Pete as if he were seeking approval or something. Pete shrugs and nods. The loner and the 2 fiends make their way outside to their bikes. Just then, a police car pulls up, and the town sheriff steps out and approaches the men. "Hey, you!" Loner turns to him. "I just got a call of a shooting scene at the Borough in town. 5 bikers shot dead, and another biker fitting your description who left the scene." The loner replies, "Well, Sheriff, I don't know what to say. If I were you, I would get those bodies over to the morgue." "If it's you, you'll burn. I'll make sure of it," the sheriff warns. Then he asks for the loner's driver's license. The loner pulls it out of his chained wallet and then hands his driver's license to the sheriff. The sheriff looks over it. Then he looks at the license plate, hands the license back to the loner without even mentioning his name. "You might need to stay here in town for further questioning. Don't make it hard for me to go hunting for you." The loner looks over at the 2 fiends and says, "That's funny. Everyone else have been telling me to leave town." With that, the 2 fiends and the loner ride off. A few minutes later, in an industrial part of town, the 3 pull up to a corrugated metal wall painted green and yellow. Sawblade pulls out his keychain and waves the fob at the security gate. After a couple of tries, he turns to Scribe. "We need to get this shit fixed." With that, he calls in on the intercom. A voice comes back. "Yeah, who is it?" "It's Sawblade and Scribe with a guest. Let us in, cook." A moment later, the gates roll open. The 3 slowly ride in, park, and dismount. A young Latina walks past. "Hi, guys. I see you got a friend here. Is it your future prospect?" "We'll see," Sawblade says, as she walks away. The loner eyes follow her. "Don't even think about it. That's Prez's old lady," Scribe warns. Loner nods in acknowledgement. "Got it." The 3 walk inside the clubhouse. The layout. A bar directly in front of them just across the room. In the middle is a small stage with a stripper pole, and directly to the left is a larger stage on which the frame and the engine of a motorcycle sit. The tables, with 4 chairs each, are staggered around the room, and next to the bar is a staircase that leads to a loft overlooking the downstairs. Here, Cook comes out from the back and is introduced to the loner. The cook is a heavyset guy who can no longer ride since his accident some years back. He got his nickname first as one who ran a meth lab. Again, it was before his accident. Since then, he has been clean and sober. He basically became the house mouse, where he now cooks meals and maintains the clubhouse. "When are you going to get that damn gate fixed?" Sawblade asks Cook. "When I get to it," Cook barks back. A few minutes later, Prez shows up from the back. "So, this is our hero that took out 5 of our rivals." With that, he approaches the loner and not only shakes his hand, but gives him a brotherly hug that is so common in the biker world. "Come, sit down. Hey, Cook, get him a beer and some food. I can't tell you how appreciative as we the Jester Fiends are. We've been butting head with these assholes ever since they came to town. They think, just because they have chapters all over and the backing of a cartel, that they can come into someone else's territory and push folks around. They ain't shit, and one day they'll not have that backing. I guarantee it. And when that happens, we will reclaim our dominance. What you did was a huge hit on their charter. Prez continues on. Tonight we have a dinner and a weekly meeting. I'm looking forward to introducing you to the club. I know you'd be a valuable asset to our club if you ever wanted to become a member. Loner sits back and shrugs. Well, I don't know about that. I like my independence. Besides, I don't think I would do well prospecting. I don't take orders much. Well, after introducing you to the membership, I'd like to put a vote to fast-track you into the club, says Prez. That means what you did for us proved to be the utmost loyalty, even if it wasn't intended. I'll tell you what, think about it tonight, and give me an answer tomorrow. Later that night, all the members are having dinner. It's plates of spaghetti and steaks, while a couple of the young ladies dance topless at the stripper pole stage. These gals are known as pass-arounds. Basically, they're property of the club, and they're there to satisfy the members. It's been a weekly tradition that the membership has dinner first, and afterwards the pass-arounds and guests are to leave the room. The prospects and hang-arounds go outside to watch the bikes and stand security. Afterwards, the membership will go into the club meeting. During dinner, Prez brings the loner up on stage and introduces him to the membership. All right, guys, some of you heard what happened this morning. We had 5 cockroaches squashed by this one badass dude. Prez then turns to the loner and pulls out a small pen. This is the little pen of a jester with its 2-pronged hat. I want to personally thank you for the service putting those bitches down. Once Prez hands the pen to the loner pins it on his vest. And with that, Prez shakes his hand and gives him a hug. The room erupts with applause and cheering. Afterwards, the loner gets handshakes, embraces, and gratitude from the members. Although a couple of the members are skeptical about the loner, not knowing who he is or where he came from. It's apparent with a couple of the members whispering to each other while looking him over and shaking their heads. Just the same, they shake his hand, but without much enthusiasm. After dinner and after all the non-full-patched members were to leave. Full patch is a term for a full-fledged member who passed their prospect or probationary status and has all the rights that the prospects have yet to earn. Prez tells the 2 pass-arounds to take their much-appreciated guest upstairs and to take care of him, and not to let him come downstairs until the meeting is adjourned. The loner is in bed with 2 naked women and having sex with them. Meanwhile, downstairs, during the meeting, there's a lot of discussion about their new friend. The Prez has been trying to push for fast-tracking the loner, but whenever it comes to bringing on new people, whether it's giving someone prospect status or giving a prospect their full patch, the membership has to vote on it. And to get a full patch, the vote has to be 100%. As they're debating, the loner steps out of his guest room to use the bathroom down the hall, wearing only a pair of jeans and shirtless. He can hear them talking. Gunny, the sergeant-at-arms, is a Marine veteran who is skeptical of everything, and is just as skeptical about the loner. How do you expect us to bring him in when we don't know anything about him? He proposes. We don't need to know about him. He just took out 5 of our rifles, Sawblade replies. Dinosaur chimes in. Look, I think we all here are appreciative for his noble deeds. But the thing is that it was about a personal beef between him and the soldados. That doesn't mean he would be a loyal ally for us. What the hell? He may just be a loose cannon. Gunny adds, we don't even know if this guy could be a Fed. Haven't any of you ever heard the story about some ATF agent who infiltrated another MC by staging a fake murder of a fake rival somewhere in the desert? All they did was have someone lay down in a ditch wearing a rival's cut with a bunch of ketchup to look like blood and take photos of it. The MC ended up patching the Fed, only for their charter to get rolled up, slapped with RICO, and members sent to Leavenworth on racketeering, drug, and weapons charges. No, I don't know this guy, and I don't trust him. Not to mention, he may have brought heat on us. For all we know, The soldados may think that this guy did a hit on them on our behalf. I'm voting no, Dinosaur points out. With that, after hearing the discussion, the loner quietly goes back into his room for the night. Gunny has more. And most importantly, we have members who have busted their asses prospecting for this club. I don't think it's fair for all the past members who killed themselves for months, or in the case of Dinosaur, it took his slow ass 2 years to get patched in. The room breaks out in laughter and chuckles, as this was an inside memory that only the members know of and can relate to. Chapter 2. The heavy rumble of bikes filled the neighborhood and pulled up to an old ramshackle one-story house on a residential street. The house has a rusty chain-link fence. The front yard is littered with debris, motorcycle parts, and broken-down cars. The loud stereos with their beefed-up speakers on some of the baggers blare hip-hop and Latin rock music. After a minute or two, when the bikes are shut down and the music turned off, the noise all becomes muted, leaving the sounds of conversations of the bikers. The soldados get off their bikes and pour into the house. The living room is filled with candles and a statue of the Virgin Mary and Santa Muerte. The members sit around whispering, embracing each other, crying. On the mantel is a picture of 5 members, candles and marigolds. Across the room is a tapestry of the Soldados del Diablos MC. Padre, a member whose role is the chapter's chaplain, lights a cigar and shakes his rattle. The room quiets down and the members bow their heads. Padre begins. We are gathered here to mourn the loss of our brothers, Hammerhead, Ramon Solis, Richard Sanchez, Papi Villa, and Juan Gomez. O most holy death! Through this sacred flame, you may never forsake our hermanos, who are with you now. We pray for your devotion to us as ours to you. We ask that you lead us to chasten those cabrons that stole our warriors from this earth. They will all be missed. Amen. The group repeats, Amen. Pancho Villa, the chapter's president, gets up. These brothers of ours were the shit. They were the bomb. I can't believe they're all gone. He doesn't bother to hold back tears. I want every fucking soldier from L.A. to Boston, from Anchorage to Argentina, to scour every inch and bring us this motherfucker. We will hurt them inch by inch and kill them many times over. With that, the group roars. Irish is a red-headed Chilango, born and raised in Mexico City, and a descendant of San Patricio, the group of Irish immigrants who came to America in the 1800s. They were conscribed into the army and were sent down to the Rio Grande to fight the Mexican War. Once there, many of the Irish soldiers realized they had more in common with the Catholic Mexicans than they did with the Protestant-dominated Americans. So many jumped over the border and joined up with Mexicans to fight the Americans. Irish, who is overly hyper and a bit of a loose nut, jumps up. I bet you he was brought in by the fiends. Let's get over there and wipe their Wonder Bread asses out. His enthusiasm spreads through the room. Hector Solsa, the vice president, gets up and tries to calm Irish down. Okay, brother, we're with you, but we can't just go in hell's blazing without any proof. I'm sure if he's still in town, he may very well be with them right now. But that doesn't mean he was sent here to kill our brothers. Just then, the room goes silent. Another soldado walks in with a tall and imposing but quiet demeanor. He goes by his position as Nomad, originally the president of the Bakersfield chapter. Nomad left his position after a tragic situation. He decided to walk away and become a free agent of sorts for the soldados, with no allegiance to any one chapter. It seems like a lonely life, where he has no chapter to call home, but at the same time, he has absolute freedom, where he goes and what he does, not to have to answer to anyone. At times, he may be called in to handle specialized jobs for the club. He approaches Pancho and Hector and gives them each a strong hug, then embraces each of the other members, and respectfully walks over to the shrine. He then turns to the group. Rest assured, we will get this cockroach. We will make him pay and pay dearly. And I promise you, once we get this puta, we will make sure that it will not be quick for him. Back at the Jester Fiend's clubhouse, across town, the loner is getting on his bike. "Hey, where are you going? Why are you leaving?" Prez inquires. "I'm getting out of here. I thought about it and think club life may not be for me. Besides, it doesn't sound like I would be too welcomed by some of your guys." Prez looked at him confused. "I overheard the conversation last night. The last thing I would want to do is be responsible for discontent among the ranks," the loner says. Prez replies, "You know, if you leave this compound, the soldados will never stop hunting you down. At least here you'll be safe, even if you don't want to become a member. We will be ever grateful to you, and the least we can do is repay the favor." "Thanks, but I need to get on the road." The loner remains firm. Prez carries on. "I tell you what, we may have a big job coming up, and we could definitely use your expertise. Would you be willing to work for us?" "Possibly, depending on what the pay looks like." "Pay? Oh, man, you will definitely not have to worry about the pay. You will get paid well." "Very well, my friend." Prez laughs. The loner nods. "We'll talk." "Yes, I think we will. Be safe out there." Shortly after, the loner pulls up to Pete's store. Pete sees him and rolls his eyes, shaking his head. "Dude, you still here? You know the soldados are looking for you," Pete says. "Yeah, I figured that, but I may have to stick around a little longer," the loner answers. "Seriously? Listen, if you are still here because what the sheriff told you, I wouldn't worry about him. Frankly, between you and me, I don't think it was really too upset that you eliminated a few low-life scumbags for him. And around here in this town, he being a one-man police force, he has about as much power as a night watchman at a construction site," Pete explains. "I already figured that out. No, I may have some work coming up in a day or two, but I do need a place to park my ass in the meantime," the loner says. Pete comes out from around the counter, gestures to the loner to bring his bike and follow him around back behind the store. Pete grabs an old musty tarp and throws it over the bike, then places a dumpster and a few tires in front of it to hide the bike. Pete points to an abandoned, broken-down 70s camper trailer. "Here, I use this for storage. It's not the Ritz-Carlton, but it's got a bed and a roof over your head." "I'm not picky. I've slept in worse places," the loner replies. As they approach the door, they are caught by the sound of a rattle. Down on the footsteps is a diamondback rattlesnake, hissing. The startled loner jumps back in shock. He looks over at Pete. Pete laughs without a care in the world and bends down to pick up the snake. The loner's eyes are wide open in amazement and horror. Pete methodically grabs the snake, shows it to the loner as he backs up trying to get away from it. "This here is Little Willie, our resident sidewinder. He keeps the rodents away," Pete jokingly tries to reassure the loner. "And with the greatest of ease." Pete tosses the 3-foot serpent far out into the desert about 50 feet away. "Don't worry. He's all bite, no bark. He won't bother you if you don't bother him." Not very reassuring for the loner. They go inside. The trailer is filled with boxes and all kinds of debris. It has a musty smell and not much room to get around. They go into the bedroom where there's an old, dusty, and ripped-up mattress. Some of the glass slats in the windows are missing. "Are you sure you want to stay here?" Pete asks. The loner nods. "It'll do, as long as little Willie doesn't decide to crawl in bed with me." "I don't think he swings that way." Just then, the rumble of a Harley gets louder as someone pulls up front. "Go, get in your room, and don't come out until I come back," Pete commands. The loner disappears, and Pete scurries back around to the front. Nomad walks into the store. Pete follows. Nomad walks around helping himself to snacks and drinks. Pete is visibly nervous. He has never met the Nomad, but knows about him and his past. Nomad then pops open an energy drink and takes a gulp. Pete asks, can I help you, sir?" The Nomad puts a finger up as to tell him to wait until he's done savoring the sweet pastry. He takes one more gulp and then turns to Pete. "These yummy pies are something. I haven't had one of these since I was back east." Yummy Pie is a pastry brand that is popular on the East Coast, around the Mid-Atlantic region. Somehow, this brand has made it to a few places out west. Pete looks on and politely nods with a nervous smile. The nomad's eyes are still focused on the yummy pie. So, I understand you had a customer who came in and got some gas here, a biker. Yes, I remember, Pete stammered. He had an altercation with some of my guys, the nomad inquires. I don't remember much, Pete lies. Do you remember what he looks like? What make, model, and color was this motherfucker's bike? Nomad goes right into it. I can't remember. I believe it was a black Harley Davidson. You know, one of those big touring kinds of bikes, Pete tries, the nomad still enjoying his snacks. Uh-huh. What about the guy? What did he look like? Honestly, I didn't get a good look. White guy, red hair, in his 50s. Did he pay cash or credit? Nomad digs. Cash. How much? Pete tries to stall. The nomad repeats. How much? I don't remember. Maybe $10? The nomad nods. Did this guy come back? I can't really remember. I get customers who come and go all day. I honestly don't keep track. You don't remember? Nomad finishes his drink and throws the trash on the floor. As he walks out, he thanks Pete with a nod. Just as Pete is about to sigh with relief, Nomad stops in front of Pete, and at lightning speed, he reaches over across the cashier's counter, grabs his shirt, and then slams Pete's head down on the counter. Pete's head buzzes with pain. Then the nomad grabs Pete by the throat and lifts him up off the counter. The man who killed my brothers was a young 30-something-year-old with dark hair. Now tell me, did this customer come back afterward or not? Pete gasps. Yes, he did. And what did you talk about? Nomad insists. Nothing. He said he left his change here. That was all, I swear. The nomad looked into Pete's eyes. He sensed that Pete was lying. But just then a random car pulls into the gas station. With that, the nomad slams Pete back into the wall, where he falls back on a rack of cigarettes. He walks out, gets on his black road glide, and rides off. The shaken Pete gets up and tries to regain his composure. After seemingly an eternity, the car at the pumps pulls out. Pete runs out of the store and around back to the trailer. The loner, lying on a dirty mattress, gets up, and the two step outside. That was one of the soldados, an out-of-towner, a nomad. He came here to ask questions about you. Pete is shook up. What did you tell him? The loner asks. You really need to get out of here. He's going to come back. After this one job comes through. I'm fucking telling you, this nomad dude is big-time bad news. Yeah, and so? So? You gotta go. Let me tell you about this nomad. He used to head the biggest chapter in California's Central Valley, from Bakersfield right on up, all along to Fresno. But things went south, all over his girl. You see, she liked to sleep around, so one night in a bar, there in Bakersfield, a farm equipment salesman was having a drink, right? He was there, slinging agriculture equipment to the fruit and produce farms. They hung out, talking and shit. He's making her laugh. They drank a lot. And by closing, the two of them went back to his motel room. As luck would have it, the very next morning, the two were just coming out of his room, when lo and behold, who comes riding by but a couple of Bakersfield soldados. They caught sight of Nomad's old lady. They pull up, one on each side of the car, ready to confront them. When the CHP got behind them, they had to back off. When the Nomad was told about his girlfriend's cheating, along with cell phone pictures, he went into a rampage, punching holes into a wall, breaking chairs and shit. He sent a couple of prospects back to her mother's home, where she lived, and dragged her back to the clubhouse. Pete takes a break, urinates outside the trailer, opens the cooler, pulls out a couple of beers, and tosses one to the loner. Then he beats her senseless, kicks her around like a rag doll. He called in the whole chapter to ride that train and rape the shit out of her. Once they were done, he pulled out his buck knife and jammed it into her gut, ripping up her organs. They say blood was pouring out of her body and all over the floor and walls and shit. She told him right before she died she was pregnant with his child. She repeated it over and over. He tried saving her, but it was too late. She took her last breath in his arms.
The nomad began wailing. He was half catatonic. When he walked out of that blood-drenched room, he was yelling, "I want that motherfucker who did this to my girl, who fucked her, and ultimately had her killed by my own hands." But it doesn't end there. The loner absorbs the story, seeing Pete's seriousness. They light up a cigarette. Pete continues. One of the soldados gave him the license number. It didn't take long before they traced him back to Pittsburgh. So I hear that a white cargo van pulled up to his house in the suburbs with 4 soldados, all in black. They yanked the salesman and his wife from their beds, tied them up, and got to work on them. Beating, torture. The wife got the full coup on her cheating husband. You think they would see her as a victim, but to the president and his psychopathic mind, he decides to use her as a way to torture the salesman, making him watch as the 4 soldados take turns raping the wife. Then get this, the prospect shows up with a baby from the other room. The president slits the salesman's wife, then taunts the husband with the baby. The president orders his prospect to kill the baby and make the father watch. But the prospect hesitates. The president yells at him to do it. The other 2 members ain't with the program either, and they all scuffle. The president is outnumbered by his own guys. The nomad sends everybody out. He follows behind them, and in a few minutes later comes out with what looks like a bloody arm of the baby. At that point, the father starts vomiting from the horror. The finale, a slice along the salesman's throat. They say he was convulsing. Well, it turned out to be just a plastic arm from a doll. No one ever knew what happened to the baby. It is believed that the soldados adopted it afterwards. The president turned over the gavel to the VP, ripped off the California bottom rocker, and replaced it with a nomad rocker. He figured if he already gone to the dark side, he may as well go full on, with no one to stop him. The loner just shakes his head. Wow, this guy sounds like a real sweetheart. Lying there on the bare mattress with an old scratchy wool blanket and his day pack as a pillow, the loner is awoken by a call on his cell phone. A muffled sound from the receiver. Then the loner responds, "Okay, I'll be over." He hangs up and steps out of the trailer. Before putting his foot on the step, he quickly looks down to make sure little Willie didn't slither back to his resting place. He removes the tire, pushes the dumpster aside, pulls off the tarp, and pulls out the bike. He fires it up, lets it warm up a couple of minutes. Pete moseys around. "You leaving?" "I'm just heading over to the Fiends," the loner said. Pete nods. "Watch your ass and be careful." "I always do." And with that, the loner rides off. The loner pulls up to the gates of the Jester Fiends compound. He presses the buzzer, the gate opens up, and he rides in. After dismounting and pulling off his helmet, Prez comes out. "Come on in. I want to show you something," Prez announces. They go over to the bar. "Let me get you the breakfast of champions. The best damn Bloody Mary in the state." Loner nods and accepts. Prez takes the remote control and turns on the big screen TV to the news. "Listen to this," he tells the loner. The news anchor reports. This morning, the Custom and Border Protection officials made a bust with 25,000 pounds of methamphetamine coming in from Mexico. We have Christy Riviera there on the scene at the border. The next shot, a young news reporter. "We are here at Redwater, Agua Rojo de Sur, U.S.-Mexican border, where U.S. Customs and Border Patrol just making a record-breaking seizure of 25,000 pounds of pure methamphetamine, with a street value of almost over $500 million. She points to a white 18-wheeler. As the CBP officials swing the door open, revealing cases of cargo. On the cases shows images of the company logo of Jose's Tortillas, which apparently is a front for a drug smuggling operation. The drug shipment, disguised as tortillas, were bound for the U.S.
We have Agent Timothy Johnson of the U.S. Customs and Border Patrol here. Agent Johnson reports, this morning, around 5 a.m., we flagged a truck that was suspected of carrying drugs after a tip-off. The seizure amounts to almost $500 million, an unbelievably high amount, and one of the largest drug seizures in an overland traffic scheme. The driver has been taken into custody. We are very proud to have been able to interrupt the flow of this shipment. Not only have we probably saved countless lives, but we are also confident that the seizure of a shipment of this size must have a major economic crippling against this drug-dealing organization. New anchor cuts away. And on to other news. Press shuts off the TV, turns to the loner and serves him a Bloody Mary. The loner takes a sip of the drink and is taken back by both the taste and the spiciness. A fucking whopping $500 million. This unbelievable bust will go down in the record books. He sips the Bloody Mary. Damn! That is a good Bloody Mary, Prez smiles. But what does this have to do with us? The loner wonders. What if I told you that this little bust there is just that? Prez suggested. One small loss for a much bigger shipment to come in. You see, this seems like a big hit for anyone, even a Fortune 500 company. But believe it or not, this was a decoy for a larger shipment, Prez continues. The loner chokes on the Bloody Mary, shocked at what he just heard. A decoy? A $500 million decoy. Holy fucking hell. Yeah, it's a big sacrifice, he laughs. This bullshit bust was just a drop in the bucket. The cartel handed over a shipment that would both impress the feds and keep them focused on that, with press conferences, inventories, interrogations, charges, and prosecutions, and on and on. And both the idiot CBP and the DEA will be busy gloating over their prize bust. But by the time they go through the packaging, they'll find out that only a pinch of the shipment is real drugs. Basically speaking, instead of $500 million worth of drugs, they will only have $500 million worth of white flour. Yeah! We'll never hear the feds publicly revise those numbers. It will be too much egg on their face. So basically, the cartel sacrificed a lot less than what everyone realizes. Meanwhile, we've got sources telling us that there are 4 more trucks just like this coming in with $2 billion worth, which this time are fully loaded with drugs. So, for our miserly percent loss, the cartel plans on bringing in much more. Oh, I get that. But where does this put us? What does it have to do with us? The loner asks. Prez lined it all out. Let's just say we are going down to Mexico on a taco run. We are going to hijack those trucks and take them. Let me get this straight. The loner, confused. You plan on simply pulling over 4 big rigs with a total amount of $2 billion of drugs. $2 billion from one of the largest cartels in Latin America. Have you thought about the intensity of their security? An escort with such a shipment? Yep, we got all the intel. And yes, there will be armed escort, armored Escalades, SUVs. One in front and one in the rear of the convoy, and an Apache attack helicopter. They will run up to the border, cross into the USA, and once safely in town, the soldados will pick up and run security for them, all the way to Tucson, where there is a warehouse. Prez continued. Okay, well, I hope you guys are well armed and ready to take on this army. But just the same, where do I come in? The loner asked. We need you to help us hijack the rigs. You took out 5 armed rivals of ours. I know you'll become a huge asset for us, Prez states. We're going to split up the profits. We already have folks who are equipped and will be able to move this size of a load. I frankly don't want anything to do with any drug trade. I'm going to want some money up front, take care of this, and mosey on. The loner sips his Bloody Mary. 100,000 up front and 10 million once we get the shipment. Well, we can give you 50,000 now, and once we get the shipment to a buyer, we are guaranteed 50 million upon delivery. The rest, given the massive volume, is going to take a while to move. Prez offers. The loner nods his head, and they toast. All right, be here tonight at 9 p.m. Kickstands up at 9:30 p.m. Prez calls over to Scribe. Hey, Scribe, I need you to take our friend over to the safe and get 50 G's for him. So, my friend, that is a hell of a lot of cash to be carrying around. Do you have a safe place to put it? Scribe opens up one of the two safes and pulls out a bundle of $100 bills and fills up a duffel bag. Loner throws the strap over his shoulder and walks out. Scribe turns to Prez. Are you sure you can trust this guy? You just let him leave with $50,000 of our money. Prez, unfazed. I'm confident that he'll be back. He'll be wanting to earn the rest. Besides, he already has one MC after him. He's not going to want two. As the loner is about to get on his bike, Gunny comes up to him. Hey, dude, I want to talk to you for a second. Loner turns to him. What do you want? Gunny rushes him and slams the loner against the wall and pulls out a 9mm handgun and puts it to his head. I don't know who the fuck you are. Nobody in the club knows who the fuck you are. Prez and some of the guys might be impressed with your dealings with those cockroaches. I, myself, am not. Gunny barks at the loner. Gunny leans into the loner and takes a strong sniff. Then he looks him in the eyes. You don't smell right. There's a stench about you. I think you might be a cop. Maybe a Fed, ATF, FBI, or whatever. Loner looks back at him with bewilderment. Gunny, I can tell you right the fuck now. I'm not a fucking cop. Loner insists. Believe me, I am far from being any kind of law enforcement. For God's sakes, I just exterminated some of your rivals. Gunny replies, that don't mean shit to me. How do we know that wasn't a fabricated stunt? Maybe those cockroaches are working with the pigs to eliminate us, so they can take over once and for all. If I do find out you're a pig, I'll kill you myself. I'll dismember you piece by piece and scatter your body parts all over the desert. I understand pork is the favorite meat for those vultures out there, Gunny replies. Loner tries to reassure Gunny. Listen, as God is my witness, I am not a cop. Gunny continues. We'll see. We got your face. We got your fingerprints. We got ways. We'll get your whole life history, whether you're a cop or not, military, or even a janitor for some municipality in Alaska. We'll find out if you did time in the joint, and if so, why. We'll know if you pissed your pants in kindergarten. Do I make myself clear? Loner quietly nods. Gunny lets go of him and continues. If you did serve in the military, then as veterans ourselves, you got our respect. In regards, if you ever did any time, unless you were in for being a Chester, slang for a child molester based on the cartoon in Hustler magazine, Chester the Molester. It's not my concern. But again, if you're a cop or pedophile, then you will become bird feed. Loner replies, well, just trust me, you're not going to find any shit on me. Gunny sizes up the loner before letting him go. If you're truthful, then you won't have anything to worry about. With that, the loner walks away and rolls out. Later that night, all the members gather at the clubhouse. Prez has already briefed them on their upcoming operation. All right, ladies, we're going to drop our colors. Instead, we're going to be wearing these colors. Prez pulls out Soldados del Diablo cuts. Oh, hell no! I don't care what the reasons are for. I'll be damned if I wear some cockroach colors. Dinosaur says his piece. Another member chimes out. You give me that piece of shit rag, I'll use it to wipe my ass with. How about $2 billion? Does that give you enough reason? Prez asks. Scribe chides in. Where the fuck is the loner dude? Prez checks his cell phone. It's 9:20 p.m. I told him to be here at 9. What did I tell you, Prez? The fucker skipped out on us. He's probably on a flight halfway to Tahiti by now. Scribe is angry. He'll show. Maybe he's running late, Prez assures. As he calls the loner, it goes straight to voicemail. Hey, bud, where are you? I told you, be here at 9. It's 9:22. Your ass better be on the road with us.
Otherwise, the deal is off. And I promise you, if you took off with our money, we'll hunt you down."
At 9:25 p.m., all of the fiends are on their bikes, engines rumbling in idle, stereos rocking out to heavy metal, blues or country music. The Prez, sitting on his red Harley Road Glide, watches the clock on his bike stash. At 9:30 p.m., the kickstands go up. Prez is pissed off, feeling betrayed and humiliated, and takes out his aggression on his throttle. Others follow suit, revving up their RPMs close to redline. Dinosaur shakes his head at Perez in disappointment. He smokes up his tire, filling the air with a cloud of burnt rubber. At 9:35, the gates open up, and two by two the bikes slowly roll out of the compound and onto the street. As they pour out onto the street, the group rides stops. All of a sudden, in a rearview mirror, a single headlight approaches them. The light gets larger as it gets closer. The biker pulls alongside of Perez and waves to him with a thumbs up. Perez gives a nod, then points his thumb back, telling the loner to get in the back of the pack. That's standard protocol that guests and hangers around are to ride behind the patch members, including prospects. Prospects ride behind all the fully patched members, and the officers ride in the front part of the pack, all led by the road captain and president. The pack screams down Main Street, passing the sheriff parked in a vacant lot. Going into Mexico, there are no checkpoints. Motorists can drive right on in without stopping. It's a black cargo van with 4 other fiends, stockpiled with weapons. The Federales checkpoint is 70 miles further than where they plan on hitting the trucks. With their cache of weapons, the last thing they want to do is get stopped or busted for bringing firearms into Mexico. The pack pulls over at a short canyon. They gather around where the weapons are distributed. Afterwards, Gunny directs the fiends to where they take their positions. Prez and Loner goes up on a hill with Gunny. Some of the members are on one side of the gorge watching. Up on the hills, both sides look down to see oncoming traffic. They are far enough away from civilization where no one can see or hear what goes on. With the exception of a few trucks, there is hardly any traffic. Given the danger of wildlife, livestock, or unexpected obstacles, and the possibility of highway bandits, most people do not travel at night in Mexico. Prez asks the loner,
"What happened to you? I thought I told you to be at the clubhouse at 9 sharp.
The loner responds, "Now, you know why I may not be a good fit in a MC. As you see, I don't take orders well. But if there's money to be made, you can always depend that I'll be there." Prez just sighs and shakes his head.
"Well, I'm glad you came through when you did. Otherwise, it would have been both our asses. The fiends would never give up hunting you down, and not only would you have fucked yourself, but you would have fucked me as well. Being responsible for losing that much money, being voted out of my position as president, would have been the least of my worries. These guys would have taken me out back and beat me to a pulp, take my bike, my colors, and literally ripped off whatever skin I had that had a Jester Fiend's tat."
The Prez turns his back to the loner, lifts up his shirt, showing a huge tattoo of the 3-piece patch of the fiends.
"And that's no guarantee. Just being out bad would be the final outcome."
"Well, worry no more. I'm here," the loner asserts him. Meanwhile, Gunny is lying in a prone position, and with night vision binoculars, he can see 2 miles ahead. He radios into the rest. "We got movement," someone responds. 10-4. Down on the road about a quarter of a mile out, 4 of the bikers are hiding behind the scrub bushes. They're in position to hit the rear escort. Several trucks are heading up the road. Gunny radios. "Stand by, guys." Everyone gets locked and loaded as the truck approaches. The guys down on the road can get a better look. Dinosaur radios. "We have them in sight." The sound of the diesel engines comes into range. It's 2 trucks, and one looks like a much older Kenworth, which would have been obvious that it wouldn't have been able to get into the U.S. "All right, stand down," Gunny radios. Several hours later, the desert temperature becomes frigid. Some of the fiends fight off the drowsiness. Sawblade pulls out a small baggie of meth and takes a snort. Once the powder hits his nostrils, the burning effect gets him shaking his head and eyes wide open. Just then, off in the distance, Gunny can spot some lights of an aircraft. Prez grabs Gunny's night vision and shouts,
"This is it, guys. Get ready. Stand by. I think this is it," Gunny radios back.
Dinosaur 2,
"Standing by."
Now it's about 5 a.m., and the sun is about to crack the dark skies. A helicopter seems to be patrolling around the area, flying in circles back and forth.
"You got your stinger set?"
Gunny yells out to Scribe. The loner turns to Prez.
"Holy fuck. You guys got a goddamn Stinger missile launcher?"
Prez nods and smiles.
"Okay, Scribe, get ready."
Scribe throws the launcher on his shoulder. Then he turns on the electronics.
"This is the latest generation Stinger missile system. It can fire a range up to 8 miles. And it's unlike most surface-to-air missile systems that are vulnerable to defensive flare systems that aircraft may use to throw off an incoming heat-seeking missile. What is advanced with this model is that the missile does not rely on just heat, but it is guided by an infrared system with light AI technology, where once a target is painted, the system recognizes the target. It will not allow flares to throw it off. This kind of weapon is usually only in the hands of the military and not available in the civilian market. But like many motorcycle clubs, where there are always members who have connections with active-duty military personnel, and with enough money, anything can be acquired in the black market. Gunny radios out. "Ready your fire, Scribe." Tensions rise within the club. The helicopter flies over the first truck. In front, the Escalade leads the convoy. The convoy passes Dinosaur and his team. He radios back to Gunny, confirming the target. "We got him. Light him up. Fire when ready." "Burn, little birdie, burn." Scribe's finger squeezes the trigger. A blast comes out of the back of the launcher as a flash of light blows out the barrel. Like a comet, the missile streaks across the night sky. The pilot sees the oncoming missile and fires off the flares. From the ground, flares resemble the spreading of wings of an angel. At the same time, the pilot hangs a hard right, tilting the aircraft at 45 degrees, hoping to shake it off. It turns out to be futile. The missile is determined. Within a fraction of a second, the missile meets with the bottom fuselage of the copter, instantly blowing it up, bringing flames and singeing metal crashing down on the ground. One large piece lands on the road, causing the Escalade to swerve around. The big rig behind runs over it, with not much more than hitting a bump on the road. Next, Prez pulls out a long, light anti-tank weapon, a disposable shoulder-fired rocket, which after the first shot, the fiberglass tube can be thrown away. He pulls open the weapon with a telescopic manner, then fires, blowing up the Escalade, and somehow causing the SUV to upend over itself, lying upside down in the middle of the road while burning. This brought the speeding convoy to a sudden halt. The first truck locked up its brakes and jackknifed. Several bikes and a van race from the canyon down to the crippled fleet. 3 of the guys crawl out of the overturned Cadillac SUV, armed with AR-15s, and fire at the oncoming bikers. At that point, the bikers pull off the road, ducking behind their bikes, armed with their own assault rifles. They trade fire with the cartel. 2 of the men are shot down. Just then, the SUV blows up from the leaking gas, with the 4th man trapped inside. At the rear of the convoy, the SUV is stopped, trapped with the big rig in front of them and the bikers at their rear. A gunman opens fire on Dinosaur and his crew, hitting one in his arm. The other 3 manage to shoot back, but it is the loner, with his sharpshooter skills, who ends up killing the 4th gunman. At this point, the truckers' entire security team, including their help escort, all got wiped out. The fiends, still donning the soldado cuts, yank all 4 truckers out of their rigs. As each of them climb out of their rigs, they are grabbed and thrown over the side of the road. There they line them up on the road, on their knees, with their hands behind their head. Other fiends climb up into the rigs and drive off after Prez gives them GPS coordinates. Afterwards, Prez comes back to the 4 drivers. Looking at them, they do not appear simple hired truckers, not knowing what's in the shipment they're carrying. But in Prez's eyes, they are still the cartel. The drivers are shaking, and one is even crying, and pleads in Spanish. "Por favor, tengo uno hijo, recién nació. Por favor, no me despedes."
In English, "Please don't shoot me. I have a newborn son. Prez paces back and forth. His face is covered. All of a sudden, he pulls out his 9mm, and one by one he shoots him in the back of the head, execution style. Prez stops in front of the crying trucker and says, Hoy es tu dia de suerte. Via casa and besa tu hijo. Then in English, today is your lucky day. You can go home and kiss your son. Now, send a message to Jesus Soledad. This is payback for the killing of 5 brothers of the Soldados. Prez turns his back and shows the spare driver the Soldados del Diablo MC patch. Let Jesus know this shipment is ours now, as payment for the deaths of our guys. Now get up. The stunned driver stands up. Gracias, muchas gracias. Que Dios te bendiga. Thank you so much. May God bless you. All right, vete de aquí. Get out of here. Prez orders unsentimentally. The trucker takes off running. Prez turns to his members. All right, everybody. Let's get this shit off our backs, and let's burn them. They throw the cuts into the burning wreckage. They wait until all the vests are completely burnt to ashes, with no evidence left of what the patches were. The loner tells Prez, Well, Prez, now that our job is done, I'm headed back to Redwater. I'll see you back at the compound later tonight. I got some shit to do. All right, good job this morning, Prez offers. Chapter 4. Later in the day, the loner pulls up to the drunken burrow. As he walks in, he sees that there's still bullet holes in the walls, but otherwise everything looks cleaned up, as if nothing happened. He steps up to the bar. For a moment, no one is around, until Yana comes walking out of the back. As soon as she sees the loner at the bar, her heart stops, and she freezes, as if she's seen a ghost, or more appropriately, the Grim Reaper. She walks behind the bar, in total shock. She avoids looking at him. What are you doing back here? You know, when they catch you, you're a dead man, Yana says. Yeah, I kind of figured that out a while back. But I need to meet with the head of the Soldados del Diablo. Believe me, I've got some very interesting news that I know they will want to hear. You really are suicidal. But why commit suicide here, in my bar? Haven't you caused enough trouble here? Yana continues. Just call them. Oh, and in the meantime, I'll take a Corona and a Cuervo shot. And remember, hold the lime. The loner demands. With that, the loner takes a seat at one of the tables in the back by the pool table. He sits there and waits. The loner looks over and sees Yana on the phone. She's visibly shaken, and keeps looking back at him, still in disbelief that this loco son of a bitch had the balls to come right back in. 20 minutes later, you hear the sound of bikes pulling up outside. Even though the loner is holding a trump card with this anticipated meeting, he is still somewhat at unease, not fully knowing what can come out of this. As they walk in, Pancho Villa stops at the bar and talks to Yana. The loner is too far away to hear what they are saying, but she turns to him and points in his direction. Pancho, along with Nomad, Irish, and Hector, walk over around the pool table. They stand there over him, surrounding him. Well, look who we have here. I have to say, you really know how to make it easy for us. What happened? Did your conscience get the best of you? Pancho asks. Nomad chimes in. I knew that cocksucker at the gas station was bullshitting me. You look nothing like what he described. Irish laughs. Oh, man, you have no idea what you're in for, pendejo. The loner looks at Pancho. Before you kill me, I really think you might want to hear what I have to say. So please pull up a seat. With that, Pancho grabs a chair and spins it around where he can straddle it and lean forward against the back seat. He looks at the clock on his phone and says, Well, get your lips flapping. The loner starts. First off, I know there's absolutely not enough apologies or remorse that could bring you guys back. Nor would it matter to you. All I can say is sorry. But what I came here to tell you is worth a lot more than just sparing my life. But you might want to pay me for this info, because what I'm about to say is not so much about my life, but, he looks around to the four, all of yours. Pancho looks around to his guys and looks back at the loner and chuckles. The loner explains, last night the Jester fiends rode down into Mexico to hijack 4 18-wheelers full of drugs. Street value of $2 billion. With that, Pancho sits back and looks over at the Nomad and back at the loner. What are you talking about? That shipment wasn't supposed to come in till Thursday. Today is Tuesday morning. Pancho asks, confused. Well, apparently the fiends have a mole in the cartel, giving you wrong info. The shipment was supposed to come in this morning, but has been hijacked, the loner explains. Holy Mother of God, you gotta be shitting us, Hector blurts out. Nope, how else would I know about the shipment, the loner says confidently. And tell us, how did you know about this? Pancho asks. I was there with them, and the 4 big rigs, escorted by a helicopter and a couple of security cars, loner states. Pancho turns to his guys. He's right. It was supposed to be 4 trucks under a heavy guard. Then he turns to the loner. So, you're telling us the Jester fiends were able to take down an Apache attack helicopter and the best security personnel that the cartel has? Well, as I said, I was there, the loner replies. Looking around the bar, he adds, and, well, you already know what I did to your guys. His remark was like a jab and twisted into the soldados. With that, Irish begins to growl in a low tone of voice. The tension gets a bit thicker, but Pancho knows that cooler heads have to prevail. The loner continues, and I got more. The fiends rode in wearing your colors. Pancho and the Nomad's faces got red and tense, with eyes widened. The loner continues. Yep, the deal is they hijacked the trucks, posing as soldados, and they used the excuse of it being a revenge hit, accusing the cartel for killing your 5 guys. He looks at the clock, and it should be about now that the one truck driver they kept alive and sent to Jesus to tell him this was a hit job by the soldados. Well, once Jesus gets this word, we don't have to guess who he may be coming after. You're full of shit, puta. You're gonna die now, yells Nomad. Pancho puts his hand up to Nomad. Wait, hold on. He then turns and grabs the loner by the collar of his vest and slams him up against the wall. The commotion catches the attention of Yana as she backs up towards the closest end of the bar, near the door. You need to explain right the fuck now. Is this true or not? Pancho demands. The loner stands there somewhat shaken, but still cool-headed. He tells them, as God is my witness, I'm not lying. And if you guys don't want to get slaughtered by this cartel, you might want to keep me alive. And while you're at it, you might want to think of what a good price is to get this information. You just keep your ass with us, Pancho tells the loner. He turns to the other and directs his head to the front of the bar. Come with me, guys. The 4 soldados get up and head over to the other side of the bar to speak privately. Hector, we need to call Jesus and try to get this straightened out, Pancho says. What about this guy? Irish wonders. We're going to keep him on the cooler. Pancho wants the last word. You think Jesus will just take our word after this? We're probably going to have to go down there in person. And we might need this puta to vouch for this story, Hector suggests. This guy is full of shit. There's no way these clowns could pull off such a heist. I say we race this piece of shit now and get it over with, Irish chimes in. Pancho does not agree. No, I think he's telling the truth. I don't think this guy would be stupid enough to come walking back in here unless there was something in it for him. Besides, how else would he know the details about this shipment unless he was really there? Pancho and the rest stand there silently thinking. After a minute or two, Pancho and the rest go back to the loner. So how much are you looking at getting to verify your story? How about 50,000? The loner asks. Pancho looks around and laughs. 50,000? You really are loco. What makes you think our chapter has that kind of money?
How about getting an advance from the mother chapter in L.A.? The loner tries. Pancho looks over to the nomad. Nomad shrugs. Well, we'll see. I can make some calls. Pancho looks back at the loner and shrugs. The loner counters. Look, if you want me to come down to Jesus' home and talk to him, since you now know I'm the only person between exoneration or death, you need me. I want to get that money into an LLC account, which I'll provide the routing number for you to make the deposit. Let's meet here tomorrow. That'll give you time to set up a meeting with Jesus and get the money into my account. Meet tomorrow? And just where do you think you're going? No, you're coming back to the house with us. We want to make sure you don't get any ideas about taking off. Nomad declared his suspiciousness. Loner looked around and reluctantly nods all right. With that, they all leave the bar. The next morning, Loner is asleep on the couch in the living room of the Soldados clubhouse. Nomad walks in and kicks his legs. Get up, pendejo. Time to go to work. Pancho comes in. Check your account. You should see your money. Wiping the sleep out of his eyes, the loner gets up and checks his phone. After a few seconds of navigating through the apps and typing in a password, he sees the amount. $50,000. With that, he gets up, puts on his jeans and t-shirt. You happy now? Pancho asks. The loner nods. All right, now, let's get on the road. Pancho declares business completed for now. A few hours later, 100 miles south of the border in the middle of nowhere, there's a small lone hill with a large home sitting up there. The soldados pull up to an opulent fancy gate with a couple of armed guards. Pancho, being in the lead, pulls up to the guard booth first. The guard looks like a paramilitary squad, decked out in desert tactical gear that is usually only seen with police or military. The guard calls in. Soon a couple of black luxury SUVs come down the hill and show up at the gate. About a dozen heavily armed men come out. One SUV blocks the road to keep anyone from continuing on. The security folks come out. Given what just happened, and unsure about the motives of the soldados, the cartel is taking all precautions. They order the bikers to get off their bikes and back up. With that, all of the bikes and all of the bikers are searched and patted down. Any weapons have to be surrendered. At any other time, the soldados would not have been as tolerant when it comes to having their weapons taken away, but they allow it given the situation. And with the cartel still unsure if it really is the soldados or not, once they clear the security, the bikers are escorted up to the house. A single-story, postmodern, flat-roofed home, where it looks to be more glass windows than walls. Palm trees surround the home, including one that is actually growing out of the roof. The spacious wide driveway is paved with glossy brown bricks. An 18-wheeler can easily turn around on it. There is also a huge garage that stores over a dozen high-end cars, including muscle cars, luxury models, and exotic sports cars. Once the engines of the bikes are shut down, and with the exception of a cackling peacock on the grounds, the setting is quiet and peaceful. The soldados are greeted by one of Jesus' ladies. There she leads them into a huge, spacious, brightly lit living room with a sunken floor. The one wall made of flat rock has a large fireplace. Next to the fireplace is the trunk of the tree that reaches up through the ceiling. The other two are floor-to-ceiling windows that offer grand vistas of the valley below. Here Jesus comes out wearing casual clothes, with a very clean-shaven bald head. He carries himself with complete confidence and control, as he should. He is the head of one of the largest cartels in Mexico. Pancho Villa, ¿cómo estás? How are you doing? Bonita. Fine, Jesus. Thank you for coming down and meeting with me, Pancho. Then he turns to the rest of the group. Before we sit down and talk, let me first give you my utmost sorrow and condolences to your brothers. With that, he tells the one woman in the house to bring everyone drinks and refreshments. Everyone either takes a seat or stands. Jesus starts off the meeting. So, I think we all can agree we have a big problem. A $2 billion problem. I know you all, and really know who killed your guys. And I know that you all know that my organization had nothing to do with the killing of your brothers. And I'm pretty damn sure that it was really not your guys who hijacked my shipment. For years, our organizations have been working with the Soldados del Diablos, going back to your San Diego chapter, muling for the Baja cartel, before we consolidated them. Just the same manner as your U.S. government would say, what is it? Oh yeah, trust, but verify. You are so right, Jesus. We have been doing business for many years, and we wouldn't have any reason to believe you would betray us. And you have no reason to think we would betray you. We have been familia, Pancho justifies. So, I understand you have someone here who can clarify this mess? Jesus asks. Pancho turns to the loner. Well, this is the puta who started this whole shit show. Tell him, hombre. The loner gets up and tells Jesus the whole story, and how he was with the Jester fiends who hijacked the trucks and then pinned it on the Soldados. Jesus sits there and slowly nods. Well, thank you for coming down and clarifying all of this to us. But now, the question is, where did they take the shipments? I don't know that. Prez sent 4 of his fiends to take the trucks somewhere. I believe that the fiends may have staged them somewhere still here in Mexico, while waiting for our broker to finalize the transaction. I think they already have a buyer. Since they didn't tell me anything, this is only what I can speculate. I guess I was not privy to that kind of information, the loner answers. Jesus sits there calmly. He looks out the window and turns his head back to the loner. Well, we got some answers on who was responsible for this, but we still have a big problem. We don't know where the shipment is. Now, I'm sure you are a fairly smart person, and you know what happens to people who fuck with people like me. If you think you're going to get answers from torturing me or threatening to kill me, that would be like getting blood out of a stone. But all is not lost. I'm still in tight with the fiends, and I know I can get the location. It may cost a little for me to get that location. I'll be risking my neck. But I promise you, for the right price, I'll guarantee we will find it, and you will get your shit back, the loner explains confidently. Jesus chuckles. You really are a clever one. He turns to Pancho. I like this guy, he says with a laugh. Nomad chimes in and tells the loner. Let me tell you something, pendejo. When this shit is all said and done, you're mine. You're never going to have the chance to spend 1 penny of that money you're extorting from us. Me and the rest of this charter are going to take turns ripping pieces of flesh off you. Jesus intervenes. Whoa! Nobody is going to lay a hand on this guy until he gets that shipment back. You want to take him out afterwards as revenge for what he did to your brothers? Fine. That's your business. But until then, no one is to mess with him. Right now, he's too valuable an asset. Jesus turns to the loner. I'll go ahead and wire you $2 million into an account of your choosing, and another 10 once we get the shipment back. With that, the loner gets up and shakes hands with Jesus. Jesus then warns the loner. I'm going to give you 3 days to get me that shipment back. If not, well, I think that you may very well know I have unlimited resources to hunt you down or any of your family members down. Don't cross me, amigo. Just then, one of Jesus' other ladies comes in with a guest. Mr. Marco Chavez is here to see you. With a show of enthusiasm, as if he had just seen a long-lost friend, and with wide-open arms, Jesus gives Marco a big hug, and then introduces Marco to the soldados. Everyone, this is an old associate of mine, Marco Chavez. Jesus turns to Marco. I take it you have some documents for me to sign off. Yes, here's what you wanted. Marco hands him the documents. Jesus takes them and puts them on a stand. Just then, a loud but low-sounding growl is heard coming from the backyard. At first, some of the guys look up and around, thinking someone has started one of their Harleys. But then they hear the growl again, and the sound is different from a hog, and it's coming from the backyard. Jesus stands up. Oh, hell! It must be time to feed our kitty cat.
With that, Jesus makes his way out towards the patio. He turns behind him and waves the group to follow him out back. Once out on the patio, they see a huge semi-Olympic-sized swimming pool. But it's empty. Jesus walks over to the edge and looks down. He then gestures to everyone to gather around the edge. The bikers all look down, and with their eyes wide open and some stepping back, there's a collective gasp in the group. In the empty concrete swimming pool is a full-grown Bengal tiger, pacing back and forth, looking up at everyone. It roars. The tiger looks good and agitated. It bellows out a growl, then lunges up the side of the wall. But fortunately for everyone, the pool is too deep for him to jump out of. While most swimming pools are only 12 feet deep, this one is 18 feet deep, too high for a full-grown tiger to jump out of. While there, Jesus comes over to the loner and puts his hands on the loner's shoulder. In an affectionate, friendly, or brotherly way, Jesus says, "Y'all know what kitty cat likes to eat? They eat all kinds of things. Birds, fish. But you know what they really like?" And with that, Jesus is rocking the loner back and forth on the edge of the pool. "They like rodents, such as mice and rats." Then he looks over at Marco, who is standing between two of Jesus' burly bodyguards. "Especially rats." At that point, Marco realizes it's about to be breakfast. But it's too late. The bodyguards push him down into the 18-foot pool. A snap of his legs is heard as they break from the impact of the fall on the baby blue concrete. No sooner does Marco hit the floor of the pool, the tiger lunges up, digging his claws into Marco's chest and sinking his fangs into his neck. And with lightning speed, the tiger gets up and, like an old rag doll, thrashes his poor victim. Blood splatters all over the walls. Marco is still screaming in pain. His head is nearly separated from his body. His clothing is pretty much ripped off. After a couple more thrashes, the tiger completely removes the man's head. Like an apple, it bites down right into the skull to get to the soft, meaty tissue of the brain. The tiger continues ripping the rest of the body apart. In a matter of less than a minute, body parts are strewn all over the floor of the pool. Even some of the most hardened of the bikers are squeamish. Irish runs into the house and dashes into the bathroom, where he drops to his knees, hugging the porcelain toilet and vomits into it. Meanwhile, back on the patio, Jesus pulls the loner back away from the pool's edge, and he explains to everyone and apologizes for the show. But as it turns out, that Marco was a rat. Jesus did not elaborate who he was an informant for, whether it was the USDEA or someone else. The loner has his own theories. He wonders if Marco was the mole for the jester fiends that Prez was talking about. Before going back into the house, the loner takes one last peek of the grisly scene. There he sees the tiger gnawing away on the poor bastard's torso. The tiger looks up at the loner. The fur on his face is covered with blood. It licks its lips and then continues eating away. Jesus asks his guest to stick around for a barbecue. On behalf of the club, Pancho accepts the invitation. The loner asks if he can leave. He tells Jesus and Pancho he wants to get back to Redwater and see what he can do about finding the shipment. They agree. Jesus tells him, "Get going, amigo. The clock is ticking." As he walks away, Nomad leers at him. Chapter 5. Later that evening, the loner pulls up to the fiend's compound. He buzzes in. As he pulls in, Prez and Sawblade come out and meet him. "What happened to you last night? You missed the wild party we had?" Prez asks. The loner pulls Prez aside. "I need to talk to you. We have a problem." "What's up?" "It's the soldados. Both them and the cartel knows that it was us who hijacked those trucks," the loner tells him. "What? How? How do you know this?" Prez is visibly upset. "Long story. Right now, they are on their way back from Jesus's. If we leave now, we might meet them in Mexico where we can ambush them. In the meantime, the cartel may have a bounty on all of us, the loner explains. With that, Prez turns to Sawblade. Go in, get Gunny. Have him round up the guys. We've got some unfinished business down south of the border. Prez turns back to Loner. Dude, you got some explaining to do on where you got your intel. I'll tell you all about it later, Loner says calmly. 20 minutes later, fiends from everywhere roll up to the compound. It's sunset, and with that, the bikers get on the road and head south, back across the border, down through Agua de Rojo Sur. The club rides across the desert until they see the same canyon where they positioned themselves for the hijacking a couple nights earlier. By the time they arrive, it's dark. They bring the van and strategically park perpendicular of the road inside the gorge, which will trap the soldados. No sooner do they get there before realizing the soldado pack is making their way north to the border. Up on a hill, Gunny sees a line of headlights off in the distance. As they approach the canyon, the fiends open fire on them. The soldados scatter off the road and into the brush and open fire back. It doesn't take long for the soldados to realize they're outgunned. Only one of them has an assault rifle, while the fiends have an arsenal. The rest of the soldados are limited to handguns. While trading fire, Prez turns to the loner and laughs. These beaners don't have a chance. Most of them down there have pistolas, while we have assault rifles. I guess it doesn't take a genius to know who will lose to the long guns. Not long into the firefight, the soldados run out of bullets. They are both outgunned and outarmed, and with that, they get on their bikes and retreat, dodging bullets. Unfortunately, as the soldados head south, Irish tries to start his bike, but the engine has taken a bullet, severing the fuel line. He's pretty much dead in the water. Within seconds, the fiends roll up on him. As he turns and faces them, he has the look of horror and fright. He pulls out his gun, but it is empty. He just drops his piece and puts his hands up. What else could he do? As he stood there helpless with guns facing him, Sawblade walks up to him and asks, "You hot bike problems?" He walks past Irish and looks down and smells gas leaking. "Looks like it's your fuel line. What a shame. And to think that your luck of the Irish just ran out." Just then, Gunny comes up to Irish and cold cocks him. Irish gets knocked out and is laid on the ground. There, Gunny picks him up and throws him into the van. Sawblade looks around. "Where's our little helper?" Prez looks around to see where the loner is. "Damn! Now where did that asshole go this time?" Later, the loner is back in Redwater. While the fiends are still south of the border, he pulls up to the compound. He uses the fob to open the gate, but it doesn't work. The loner curses himself. "Damn you, Cook. I thought you'd fix this thing." Then he buzzes the intercom, but no answer. With that, the loner climbs up over the gate. Once on the other side, he makes his way inside the building. There in the main room, the bar lights are out, but there is a light in the hallway. The loner yells out, "Hello, anyone here?" It's quiet. Looks like no one is around. The loner steps into the kitchen. There is a transistor radio playing music, and the kitchen lights are on. The loner checks the cooler in the bathroom. At this point, the loner realizes Cook must have stepped out. With that, the loner makes his way to Prez's office. Once there, he searches around to see if he can find any information that might lead him to the location of the shipments. First, he sees a monitor that seems to watch the CC camera. He notices that the one camera they have outside the gate is not working, so he's unable to see if anyone comes back. The loner wastes no time looking around the office. He rummages through the paperwork and then fires up the computer. Once booted up, there is a prompt to enter a password. He first enters the standard 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No go. He enters Gesture Fiends. Still no go. Then he enters HARLEY. Lo and behold, he got in. From there he scrolls through the icons until he finds a folder called Taco Run. That was what Prez called the hijacking operation. Once inside, the loner finds the whole plan on how they hijacked the rigs. There, he sees the name of a town with an X on the Google map, with GPS location. The loner takes a screenshot with his phone of the map. Just then he hears someone walking around. Hastily, the loner shuts down the computer. He tries to sneak out, but as he goes to open the office door to leave, it's not budging. He forces it open, and as it swings out, he feels the door hit something, and then he hears a thud on the floor. He looks behind the door, and there is Maria, lying on the floor unconscious. He mumbles to himself, "Oh, fucking hell. You gotta be kidding me." Loner squats down, trying to wake her up, but she's knocked out cold. He realizes if Cook comes around and catches him with Pete's old lady, he's a dead man. He grabs the petite 120-pound lady and throws her over his shoulders. Then he whisks her out of the clubhouse. At the gate on the inside, there's an infrared sensor that will open the gate without a need for a fob from the inside. Once out of the compound and back at his bike, he places her on the back seat, having her back lean against the short pizza box tour pack. He then jumps on, fires up the bike, and peels out. He rushes down to the drunken burro. Maria is still out like a light. He carries her into the bar. Yana can't believe what she's seeing. "Oh my God, what now? First you leave dead bodies in my bar. Now you're bringing in dead bodies from the outside. What the fuck? This is a goddamn bar, not a funeral home." As the loner struggles in, he takes Maria off his shoulders and puts her on a bar stool. "This one's alive. She'll come around. This is Prez's old lady. I think he might want her back, but for right now, tell the soldados that I dropped off a gift for them. They'll know what to do with her." With that, he turns and leaves. He jumps back on his bike and takes off. Chapter 6. The next morning, the loner climbs out of bed and makes his way around to the front of the store. He goes in. He grabs a cup of coffee. Pete calls him over. "Good to see you up this morning. Where have you been last couple of days?" "Been busy hustling," the loner responds. "I don't know if you saw it, but it looks like there's some shit going on out there on that dry lake bed," Pete says. "What is it?" the loner asks. "I have no idea." A couple of minutes later, the loner is sitting on the stoop of the back door of the trailer with a cup of coffee in his hand. Just a few 100 feet away, he's looking out at the open dry lake bed. The white flat surface that is cracked from baking in the sun breaks from the contours of the rest of the desert, with the brown hilly terrain peppered with shrubs and cactus. In the winter, when it rains, the lake bed may get about a foot deep of water, but it never lasts long. A week or two later, it's all dried back up and goes back to being dead, lifeless ground. The alkali makes it uninhabitable for any plant or animal to live there. The wind would kick up dust devils, which are like small tornadoes of dust that get blown around up into a funnel cloud. All of a sudden, the loner sees some dust kicking up where there are two groups of bikers coming in from opposite ends of the playa. The loner sips his coffee and just watches the show. One side is the thieves with their bikes and the band. The other side is the soldados. The two columns are facing off about 50 feet from each other. Up close, Prez dismounts. At the same time, Pancho gets off his road game. The two walk up to each other and face each other down. "I believe you have one of our guys," Pancho says. "And you got my old lady," Prez returns. "Let me see Irish. I want to make sure he's all right," Pancho continues. Prez turns his head partially and waves his arm, signaling to let Irish out of the van. Prez turns back to Pancho. "As you see, he's walking." Pancho nods. He waves Ernesto to bring Maria up. The tension is thick in the air. Meanwhile, the loner is just sitting back enjoying the show with his coffee. Back on the playa, Ernesto grabs Maria by the arm and drags her to Pancho. There, he shoves her down on the ground. At the same time, Gunny lets Irish go. He runs over to the soldado side, while Maria runs into the arms of Perez. Just then, all guns come out. For a minute, there is a tense standoff.
but everybody falls back. They all get on their bikes and ride away. Pete comes around back and meets with the loner. The little hostage swap we just saw? Maria is Prez's girl, but he didn't win her over by love. No, he won her in a card game down in Mexico. He was in a game in a cantina. He accused Maria's husband of cheating and demanded money from the husband. But he didn't have any left, as he had just lost the last of it in a game. With no stakes, Prez offered a choice, either the husband's life or his wife. Prez had the game rigged. The moment he saw her, he knew he wanted her. And what's really a shame is that Maria has a little boy who's been crying to see her. If there's any justice that can come out of this forsaken shithole of a town, it would be if the young lady could one day get back to Mexico and back to her husband and little boy. Loner sits there quietly, taking in the story that Pete is telling him. As he looks out over the barren patch of land, Pete looks over at him and can see the wheels turning in the Loner's head. Oh no, don't even think about it! Don't you think you already pushed your luck here in town? The Loner gets up and heads out the front door of the trailer. Hey son, where are you off to? Pete asks. I got a few more bucks to make, the Loner responds. Loner pulls up to the fiend's compound. He buzzes in. A couple of minutes later, Loner is at the bar with the cook. Where's Prez? The Loner asks. He's around. He'll be here in a few, the cook responds. I heard the soldados got his woman last night, the Loner continues. Yeah, apparently it was some kind of tit-for-tat, hostage exchange. I understand we got one of the soldado boys. So, I guess somehow some of them who were here in Redwater got in here and grabbed Maria, Cook speculates. Where were you? Don't you stay here? Loner wonders. Yeah, but I had to run out to the store for a minute. Cook is cool-headed. They must have staked out the place and waited to see if anyone was going to leave. Or maybe they'd been waiting for her to step out, the Loner is speculating too. She never leaves the place. Prez won't let her, Cook informs. So, you're telling me they got in here? Don't you guys have video recordings? Cook doesn't say anything, but just walks away. He mumbles, the cameras have been broken. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Loner shakes his head, and with a tone of disappointment. Cook, I know it's not my business. This isn't my clubhouse. But with this war going on with you guys and the soldados, don't you think domestic security of your home here takes precedence? Cook just shrugs. He knows the Loner is right, but doesn't have anything to say. Just then, Prez walks in. He comes up to the Loner and greets him with a hug, with no idea that it was the Loner who spirited Maria away to sell her to the soldados. Prez pulls the Loner aside. I need a big favor from you. Given what just happened to Maria, we had to take her out to a safe house, where she'll be protected from another abduction by those cockroaches. I would feel a lot better if you can get out to the house and stay there. I have a couple of our prospects and a full patch out there, but having a hired gun like you will put me at ease. You got it. I'll head out there tonight, the Loner assures him. That night, the Loner leaves. Shortly after, he pulls up to a farmhouse just outside of town. As soon as he arrives, the Loner walks into the house. There he sees the two prospects sitting on the couch watching TV. The full patch is sitting in the lounge chair with a beer. The Loner stands there at the entryway of the living room. What are you guys watching? The Loner asks. And then all of a sudden, by surprise, the Loner pulls out his .45 from his back, and without hesitation, instantly shoots the three bikers. First, he hits the first prospect, and before anyone is able to react, the Loner quickly turns his handgun on the other prospect, and then lastly on the full patch member. Within a matter of seconds, the three victims are motionless. The Loner goes upstairs and goes room to room. The last room is locked. The Loner kicks in the door. Once inside, he sees Maria in bed watching TV. She is startled and stands up on the bed screaming, not knowing why he is there. Maria has no idea that it was the Loner who abducted her from the clubhouse last night, and she has no idea what motive the Loner has. He calmly tries to reassure her. It's okay, Maria. I'm not here to hurt you at all. He reaches his hand out to her. Please, come with me. I'm taking you home. She looks around, all confused, as if she thinks this is her home.
The loner continues. I'm here to take you back to your real home with your son. With that, she takes his hand, and the two run back downstairs. The two leave the house. But before getting on his bike, the loner goes back into the house and trashes it, overturning the shelves, slamming the TV on the floor, throwing pictures off the wall. He then goes into the kitchen. He pulls back the stove. There he takes a meat cleaver and cuts the gas line from the stove, letting the gas fumes spill out. Then he takes a roll of paper towels, rips a few sheets off the roll, folds them up and jams them into the toaster. He slides the knob down. By the time the coils in the toaster heats up and catches fire, the air in the kitchen and living room will be filled with natural gas. Before leaving the kitchen, he opens all the cupboards and throws all the dishes and glasses out. From outside, Maria can hear the glass and china crashing as the loner throws them on the floor. The loner then opens up the fridge and yanks out the shelves of food and throws them on the floor. Then he runs out the front door. With Maria on the back seat, the loner peels out with the back wheel spitting up dirt and gravel. Back at the house, the coils in the toaster are beginning to glow red. In the living room, the arm of one of the prospects lying face down on the floor begins to move. He tries to get up, but his spine got severed from the bullet. He is half conscious. He gets just enough strength to pull out his phone. The wounded prospect opens up the phone icon. In the kitchen, the coils are getting hot, and the paper is beginning to smolder. The wounded prospect is unaware of the gas bomb that is about to go off. With his shaking hand, he scrolls through the call list till he sees the cook. He presses it and calls. It goes to voicemail. The prospect leaves a message telling him, "Hey, cook, damn, pick up. We just got ambushed here." As the loner and Maria reach the main road, a loud boom goes off. As the house blows up, the blast is so big, the two can feel the scorching wind coming from the fiery explosion. They look back at the burning house, and without hesitation, they speed down the road. They haul ass right through town and onto the border. At 50 miles an hour, the loner's street right hits the speed bumps, sending them flying. They blast through the border, and a few minutes later, they roll into Agua Rojo de Sur, where they pull up to an adobe-style Mexican restaurant. The restaurant is Maria's husband's family business. Her husband and son come running out. Maria climbs off the bike and gives her son a big hug. She is in tears. "Mi hijo!" Her husband, Pedro, approaches the loner and shakes his hand. "Thank you, senor. You are a very good man. But we are worried that the jester fiends might come after her." The loner reassures them. "Something tells me that you may not have to worry about them much longer." With that, the loner takes off. Before long, the loner is back in Redwater, where he rolls up to the gates of the fiend's compound. He tries to use the fob, but it's not working. He buzzes in, but again, no answer. The loner parks his bike out front. There, he climbs over the gate and scales back down to the other side. Inside, he doesn't see who is behind him. As he drops to the ground, he turns around, and for a fraction of a second, he sees a few fiends standing there, waiting for him with arms crossed. All of a sudden, bam! Gunny cold cocks the loner. When he comes to, the loner's head is thumping. His vision is blurry. Just as his eyes begin to focus, the loner sees he's in the storage room. Lying on the ground, he is looking up and sees surrounded by the jester fiends. They pick him up and take turns working him over. Gunny hits him again, this time in the gut. Then he throws the loner to Sawblade, who punches him in the face. The loner goes down. Dinosaur and Scribe take turns kicking him. The injured loner curls up into a fetal position, covering his head with his arms. Then Gunny bends down and picks him up, and slams him against the wall, and punches him again in the gut, and then throws him onto a bag of potatoes. Prez comes into the room. The other members part and make room for him to approach the loner. For a moment, he just stands there, silently looking up and down at the badly bruised and beaten guy. He looks at him with disgust and anger. Prez speaks. "I'm really disappointed in you. You of all people should know not to leave any witnesses. Cook got a voicemail from one of our prospects at the safe house. The same safe house I sent you to watch over the most valuable thing in my life." "Where is she, Loner?" Loner is panting and bending over, spitting up blood. He doesn't say anything. Then Prez snaps. He grabs the loner's hair and slams his head back against the wall. "Where is she?" Half conscious, Loner looks back at Perez. It's as if he can't speak, even if he wanted to. Perez takes his head, and like a pathetic rag doll, he throws the Loner down on the floor. "Leave him here until he decides to talk. Let's go. We need to get up to the safe house." As they leave the storage room, Perez calls Cook over. "Don't let this fucking douchebag out of this room." After locking the Loner in from the outside, Perez, Sawblade, and Gunny leave. The Loner just lies there trying to gather whatever strength he can. Gradually, he pushes himself up and limps over to the door. He uses his shoulder trying to push the door open, only it won't budge. The Loner realizes he's locked in like a prisoner. Up above the heavy door, there's a small window where he might be able to squeeze through. He looks around the room to see what he can use. There, a long hook is lying up against the wall. He then looks at the mounds of beer kegs. One by one, he rolls the kegs up against the door. He lays them down and gets a couple of wood door chocks that he uses to brace the kegs to keep them from rolling back. Then he uses bags of rice and potatoes that works much better to brace the kegs. After the first 4 kegs on the floor, he then struggles to lift the other kegs, building a one-sided pyramid with all the kegs leaning against the door. Once the kegs are piled up, he takes a can of tomato sauce and tosses it through the transom window, breaking it. The sound of shattering glass catches the cook's attention. He comes back to the storage room. "What the hell are you doing, dog?" Cook spatters. Once at the door, he sees the broken glass on the floor. With that, Cook thinks the Loner is trying to escape. He fumbles with the keys and unlocks the door. As soon as the door opens, hundreds of pounds of beer kegs come collapsing down on the Cook, instantly crushing him. The Loner carefully climbs over the pile of falling kegs and escapes from the storage room. He tries to get to the other door and make a run for it. A couple of the fiends show up. The Loner instead decides to make his way behind the bar. There, he finds a 6-load pump-action 12-gauge shotgun. Once the 2 fiends come into the bar, they shoot at the Loner. He ducks down behind the bar, avoiding the gunshots. Then he jumps up and fires one at the fiends. The shotgun blast throws the fiend up against the wall. The ammo is slugs, which blows a huge hole through the fiend. Meanwhile, the other fiend is hiding around a corner. He fires at the Loner. With that, the Loner fires another slug, this time through the wall, killing the fiend behind it. As the Loner comes around from behind the bar, all of a sudden, Scribe calls down from the loft above. "Hey, fuckard!" The Loner spins around with the shotgun. Before Scribe is able to fire off a shot, the Loner fires another round, hitting Scribe. He falls head over heels over the railing and down onto the ground floor. Before leaving, the Loner sets the Jester Fiend's tapestry on fire. Then he hears a bunch of bikes coming back. A second later, he hears the bikes just on the other side of the gate. He can see the illumination of the headlights coming through the gaps and random bullet holes. The Loner remembers that the fobs are not working, and now there's no one alive to let them in. Just then the gate opens. He mumbles to himself, "Just my luck." Of course, now the fucking gate works. As a result of the beating, the Loner is not able to run, so he quickly limps to the southern end of the compound. There, a stack of tires are up against the steel wall. He tries to be quiet, but it'll take just one hit against the metal wall to be heard. All of a sudden, the bikes come rolling in. With nowhere to go, the Loner slips down into the center of the tires. With about 9 tires stacked up high enough for him to hide inside, the fiends go to the open door and go inside, only to get blown back by a burst of flames. Gunny yells, "Shit, motherfucker! The place is on fire!" With that, they run around the compound looking for the Loner. Prez is seething. "Find that cocksucker! He's gotta be around here. I know he hasn't left. His bike's still out front. He's still here somewhere." The fire spreads throughout the clubhouse. The Loner is not only worried about getting caught, but he can start to feel the heat from the fire getting closer to him. Right now, both Gunny and Perez are standing inches away from the Loner as he hides inside the tires. He can hear them talking. "And to think, you wanted to fast-track that fucker into the club," Gunny says. Perez looks over at Gunny. "Gunny, don't even start with me right fucking now." Just then, Sawblade yells, "Hey guys, over here!" With that, Gunny and Perez leave and go around to the back. Once the coast is clear, The loner climbs up and out of the tires. He gets up over the metal wall into the neighboring maintenance yard, where he is then met with a vicious pit bull barking at him. As soon as he drops to the ground, the dog pounces on him. They wrestle for a few seconds, with the dog growling. Fortunately, the loner has his thick leather jacket, which helps a bit. He is able to pull out a piece of beef jerky that he grabbed at Pete's store. He manages to get the dog's attention, enough to get him off of him, and he throws the jerky to the ground, which borrows enough time for him to get to the chain link fence that he is able to scale up and over. On the other side, he drops to the ground and injures his leg again. Given the life and death situation, the loner's adrenaline is racing, which allows him not to feel pain as much as he should, given the injury of his leg. Fortunately, it's not broken. Otherwise, he would have ended up immobile and would have been as good as dead. Once on the street, the loner tries to limp towards his bike, but just then, the fiends on their own bikes are riding back out of the compound and onto the street. He can hear Prez yell, "That motherfucker must be hiding out with the soldados!" Before he gets a chance to get back to his bike, the loner ducks down next to a dumpster. All of a sudden, the sheriff just happens to show up. He spots the loner crouched down. The sheriff pulls up and positions the car where the fiends won't spot the loner when they ride past. The sheriff opens up the back door of the police car. "Hurry up, get in," the sheriff commands. With that, the loner crawls over and climbs into the back seat. "Stay down, keep quiet." "You won't get any arguments from me," the loner says meekly. The police car slowly cruises down the street. It turns left at the next block and back onto Main Street. As it gets past the business district, the sheriff turns left and drives into the residential area in what they now call the barrio. The loner tells the sheriff, "Let's go by the soldado's house." As they get a block away, they see what's left of the fiends: Prez, Gunny, Sawblade, Dinosaur, and Stevie. They pull up in front of the ramshackle, broken-down house. There, the fiends get off their bikes. The headlights from the Harleys light up the front yard and the front of the house. With that, Gunny goes into his hard saddlebags and pulls out an M203 grenade launcher, a modified M16 with a grenade launcher under the barrel of the rifle. The hard bags are custom made and stretch enough to fit such a rifle in there. Once Gunny gets the rifle in his hands, he cocks back the grenade tube and squeezes the lower trigger. A thwomp sound, where a small tennis ball-sized grenade-shaped plastic bullet shoots out. It goes through the window. Once inside, a huge explosion goes off. Gunny then fires a second round through the window. This one is an incendiary device. Once fired and is inside the house, the white phosphorus round erupts with flames. The fire pushes the soldados out the front door and onto the porch. One by one, soldados pour out of the burning house, facing the fiends pointing automatic rifles at them. All of them, with their hands up and surrendering. Pancho comes out pleading. "Don't shoot! Don't shoot!" Prez yells out. "We want the loner!" "He's not here! I swear to you!" Pancho yells back. "Get his ass out here!" Prez insists. "Listen, that puta played us both against each other. Please, please, don't shoot! We are coming out, and we're unarmed!" Pancho pleads. All of a sudden, the jet fiends open fire on them. A rain of bullets come flying at them, taking them out one at a time. More soldados come out as the house is burning up. Then Yana comes out crying. They gun her down as well. Then, out of the flames, comes the 6-foot, 4-inch nomad, carrying an AK-47 assault rifle, thinking he can fire back. But before he can even lift his rifle, he gets hit with a spray of bullets. A minute passes by, and no one else comes out. Either they got burned up inside, or they all got shot. Even if there was no fire, the house was so shot up that there was no way anyone could possibly have survived from such a barrage of gunfire. With that, Sheriff pulls out and drives away. "Damn, dude. You really know how to create a shitstorm in this town," the sheriff says. Lone responds in somewhat snarky manner. I'm sorry?" "I know a place where you can hide out a few days," the sheriff offers. "Sounds good. I'll take it. But one other thing. I need you to run by Pete's and pick up my stuff and bring it out to wherever you're stashing me," the loner asserts. "Absolutely," the sheriff agrees. "Oh, and my bike. Is there a way you can get it hauled out there?"
Hopefully before the fiends take it.
The loner tries. I'll see what I can do, Sheriff says. Later that night, the Jester fiends pull up to Pete's store and barge in. Gunny comes around behind the counter and grabs Pete by his shirt and drags him around to the front of the store. Prez locks the door. Sawblade, Dinosaur, and Stevie stand guard outside, in case a car or anyone shows up like he did with the loner. Gunny lays a hard blow into Pete's stomach. He goes down on the floor. Gunny then bends down, picks up Pete, and throws him against the shelves in an aisle, knocking some of the products off and onto the floor. He turns him around and throws Pete up against the beer and beverage coolers, cracking the glass. Prez gets in Pete's face.
Where is he?
Pete is shaken.
I don't know what you're talking about. Where is who?
Gunny punches him again. Prez repeats.
You goddamn well know who we are looking for. Your little biker friend who's been staying here. Where is he? I don't know, I swear. The last I saw, he was going over to your place earlier this afternoon. What is this all about?
Pete asks nervously.
He killed a bunch of my guys, burnt down our clubhouse, our farmhouse, and took my girl away,
Prez announced. And with that, he punches Pete in the face.
I'm not going to ask you again. Where the fuck is that piece of shit, dog?
Sawblade pops his head in the door.
Hey, let's get out of here before the sheriff comes around.
Prez looks down on the floor at Pete, who by now is still breathing but is unresponsive.
We're coming back tomorrow. You better have some goddamn answers for us,
Prez barks. The fiends leave. They get on their bikes and ride off. Pete, still conscious but barely moving, feels a bit of relief as he hears the V-twins roll away. Yet Pete is still feeling unease, knowing they'll be back. An hour later, the sheriff pulls up to the store. Before he even gets inside, he can see the store has been trashed. He walks in, looks around for Pete. He calls out to him. Pete! Pete! Where are you? He hears a grunt from one of the aisles. The sheriff runs over and spots Pete lying on his side. There's blood, debris, and products on the floor around him. The sheriff drops down to him.
Pete, what happened? Are you all right? Those damn Those Jester fiends. They came in here looking for that biker that's been staying here in the back. I told them that I don't know where he is, but they didn't believe me. They'll be back,
Pete stutters. Oh yeah, we can count on them coming back. Listen, you don't look good. I'm going to need to get you to a hospital, the sheriff says.
I'll be all right,
Pete says quickly. They roughed you up pretty bad. We need to get you to the emergency room to check for any broken bones or internal injuries. The sheriff worries. Don't worry about your biker friend. He's safe right now. I just come by to pick up his belongings that he asked me to. With that, the sheriff helps Pete up onto his feet and helps him walk outside to the police car, where he lays Pete down in the back seat. He then takes Pete's keys and puts the close sign on the door and locks up. Goes to the trailer in the back, and then a few minutes later comes back to the car with a couple of bags of the loner's belongings. Afterwards, he takes Pete up the road. The nearest hospital is about 80 miles north in the next town. Chapter 7. The next morning, the loner wakes up inside an old concrete magazine battery at an old abandoned military base. The walls are all spray painted with graffiti from years of kids coming out to party. As he looks around, all he sees is broken concrete with weeds growing out of the cracks. There are bits of broken glass that look like beer bottles that were tossed. Off in the distance are a few large buildings that have missing glass in the windows and doors missing. The windows have large faded numbers. Out in the open, there are block-like structures with faded orange and white checkered patterns. It looks to be an old naval air station that has closed down back in the 1990s. Not knowing what to expect, the loner stays put at the magazine battery, where it provides shade. His leg is still hurting. Fortunately, the sheriff left him with a gallon of water and some snacks. The sheriff told him that he'd be back in the morning to bring his stuff. The loner checks his phone, only to see his battery is low, down to 1 bar. He tries to call out, but there's no signal. With that, he shuts down the phone to save what battery life is left. He just sits there on the hard concrete with his back up against the wall. It's pretty cold early in the morning, but given how much pain he's still feeling from the beating, he doesn't feel the chilly air. The excruciating pain has finally caught up to him. He is feeling the aches and pains all over. His face is swollen and covered with black and blue bruises. He tries to get up and stand, but the burning pain is shooting up and down his leg. While it is throbbing, fortunately, he does not feel any sharp, jagged pains that would indicate any broken bones. Once the sun comes out, the desert heats up real quick. As the day's heat goes on and the sun rises higher, the loner has to shift around to stay in the shade as it keeps changing direction with the sun's position moving across the sky. The temperature seems to have gone from freezing cold to scorching heat at the flip of a switch. By 10 a.m., the loner notices vultures gathering up in the sky. He knows it's not a good sign. The loner wonders if the scavenger birds know something he doesn't. The loner is beginning to wonder if the sheriff forgot about him. In the meantime, no matter where he shifts and how much he tries to stay in the shade, the place is beginning to feel like an oven. Although it is a dry heat. Unlike Florida or New Orleans, where the humidity is 95% and you feel like you are melting, this heat is much more dangerous. It's not as muggy or uncomfortable, and because of that, one can let their guard down and become extremely dehydrated and suffer from heat stroke. Unlike a humid environment where one can feel the sticky perspiration, here in the desert, the sweat evaporates as quick as it comes out of your pores. One would never realize how much one sweats. The loner is looking over at the buildings across the way. They're so tempting. There, he can be in complete shade, without the sun burning down on him. But it's too far. The structures are at least 1,200 feet away. The loner is confident that he can limp his way over there, but if he does, he may miss the sheriff. The loner takes off his t-shirt and wraps it around his head to keep the sun from beating on it. The loner knows that one of the most common ways to get heat stroke is from a lack of a head covering. The second is lack of water. The loner just sits there, conserving his energy while he slowly nurses his water. All of a sudden, the loner hears something in the distance. It sounds like a car. He also hears what sounds like a rattling of metal. Then, like a mirage through the warping of the air from the heat on the surface of the pavement, he sees something shiny coming towards him. Not knowing if it's the sheriff or not, the loner doesn't want to come out and expose himself. This could be anyone. For all he knows, he could be trespassing on government land, and a military base no less. And although it looks defunct, the loner has no idea if it's still restrictive on the books or not. Or what if it's just her fiends coming out here looking for him, feeling helpless and vulnerable, armed only with a handgun, but with no rounds. He is just a dead man in the water. There are no real hiding places. If it's not the sheriff, he just hopes whoever it is, they will just pass by his position without noticing that he's there. He looks out again, and the vehicle is too far away to tell. He does see it's a white car, but being in the desert, white cars are pretty common. Then he notices the red and blue light bar on the roof. And right behind the cop car is a yellow flatbed truck. As it gets closer, the loner is relieved, seeing the sheriff has arrived.
And lo and behold, his beautiful black machine is sitting on the flatbed, with its chrome glistening in the sun. It was a welcome sight to behold. The sheriff pulls up and gets out of the car, and walks over to the magazine, where the loner is struggling to get up. "Damn, are you ever a sight for sore eyes? I was starting to get worried that you lost me," the loner says. "Well, when we came onto this base, I did take a wrong turn and ended up somewhere else. It all looks different in the day, as opposed to the night," the sheriff responded. "Well, I'm glad you found me, and you brought my bike." The loner was excited. "I thought you might need a way out of here. It's amazing that your bike was still sitting there. Also, I figured you might be hiding out here or somewhere for a few days until you get patched up. So I brought you a case of MREs, meals ready to eat. This is what the military grunts eat when they're out in the field. Here's 7 gallons of water. Use it sparingly. I don't think you'll find any running water out here, and even if you do, I don't think you want to drink it if you don't want to guzzle stage 4 cancer," the sheriff suggests. The sheriff then walks over with the loner to the flatbed. By then, the tow truck driver has the flatbed tilted. He climbs up and loosens the straps. The sheriff turns to the loner and introduces him to the driver. "This is Bob, my brother." "So you're the troublemaker who helped clean up our town," Bob states more than asks. The loner laughs. "Troublemaker? I suppose. I don't know about cleaning up the town. Hell, you got one whole gang wiped out and the other cut in half. You keep it up and you might just end up taking my brother's job," Bob said. The sheriff looks back at Bob. Hey now. You keep that up and I'll make sure you don't get any more city tow jobs anymore. Now, you get this young man's bike off the lift." Bob laughs, and the sheriff shakes his head and turns to the loner in a joking manner. "You see the shit I gotta put up with my brother?" Bob straddles the bike and gently and carefully backs it down onto the pavement. Like most bikers, the loner keeps his eye on Bob and his pride and joy, watching it to make sure nothing happens, or that Bob doesn't accidentally drop it. Even though the loner knows this guy's a professional, and this is what he does for a living, just the same, unless it's the loner himself sitting on that bike, he always has that sense of unease when anyone handles it. The loner has even done all his own work on the bike. Everything from changing a light bulb to tearing down the lower end and rebuilding the motor from scratch. The loner knows every nut and every bolt on that machine. So even if there was a time that he would have taken it into a mechanic, even at a dealership with certified mechanics, the loner never feels comfortable with anyone else wrenching on his bike. Once the street glide is on the ground, the loner goes over and looks over the whole bike from fender to fender to see if there's any nicks, scratches, or defects. With the exception of the turn signal that is still broken and taped up temporarily, the bike looks okay. With that, the sheriff takes the loner off to the side, gives him the news about Pete. "Listen, kid, Pete's in the hospital up in Bisbee." The loner steps back in shock. The sheriff continues. "When I went out there to get your stuff, I found him lying on the floor, beaten half to death. It was the gypsy fiends. They were looking for you, and they thought Pete could tell them where you were. Obviously, I didn't tell him, and he still doesn't know where you are." "He's in the hospital? How serious is it?" the loner asks. "He's a tough bird. He'll be all right. I took him to Bisbee as a precaution to get him checked out for anything serious. They'll probably release him today, but I know whenever he opens his store back up, the fiends will be back at him again," the sheriff explains. "I'm glad you told me," the loner says. "Look, kid, Pete's going to need you. I'm going to need you. And the town of Redwater is going to need you to come back and finish the job," the sheriff says. "Oh, you bet your ass. I'll be back in town before long," the loner responds with a half laugh like a sigh. "I just want you to do me one favor. I want you to be sure you get healed up and physically ready. You're going to need to be fit for this fight," the sheriff says. As the loner loads up his bags and gets on his bike, he says, "I'll see you back there in a few days." The sheriff nods and then asks, "Where are you going right now?" The loner looks over to the buildings and says, "I'm getting out of this scorching sun. You should have dropped me off over there last night." And with a shit-eating grin, the loner rides over to the abandoned structure. The sheriff shakes his head and turns to Bob, chuckling. "These millennials today, they're never grateful for the help we give them." "I kind of agree with the kid. You should have dropped him off over there," Bob says. "Now, don't you start with me. Come on, let's get back to town." The sheriff ends the conversation. For the next couple of days, as the loner gets his strength back, he pulls out his stuff and breaks down his guns, cleans them, runs the brush through the bore, blows off the dust, and trying out the mechanics of the guns. And then he sets up targets and practices his shooting skills. Among with the loner's belongings is several boxes of bullets. A couple of days later, the loner gets up and makes a cup of coffee. Then he loads his bike bags, gets on, rides off. He rides down the highway across the desert. He takes in the sights of the mesas, rocks, and cactus. Not sure if this will be his last ride or not. The loner tries to appreciate what could be his last moments alive. Eventually, he rolls into Main Street. There he parks at the now closed-up Drunken Burrow. He gets on his cell phone. "Prez, why hello there." "Where have you been?" Prez asks. "I've been recuperating somewhere. If you want to meet up with me, I'm here on Main Street," Loner answers. There's a long silence. Then Prez responds, "I'll see you then." Several minutes go by. All of a sudden, there's a rumble in the distance as several bikes are cut aside. They pull up and park across the street from the loner. He gets off his bike. The two stand off across the street from each other. They then walk out into the middle of the street, facing north and south of each other. The loner and the fiend stand about 70 feet from each other. With that, they just stand there, staring each other down. Prez pulls out a rifle and shoots at the loner. The loner goes down, hitting the street. All of a sudden, everything is silent. Prez smiles and looks over from side to side at Steve and Sawblade to his left, and Dinosaur and an unarmed fiend to his right. "Well, that wasn't so hard," Prez says. And just as they were about to walk towards him, the loner moves and gets back up. The jester fiends are astonished. Once up, the loner staggers a little, then stands up. "You want to try again?" the loner asks. Prez fires at the loner again, and again he falls. The fiends just stand there. This time, they don't attempt to approach him. And then again, the loner slowly gets back up. But this time, as he gets up, Prez doesn't wait. He shoots the loner again, knocking him back down. The loner just lies there for a minute or two. No movement. By now, the fiends think Prez had got him this time. They still hesitate before approaching him. They stand there and wait. And then his legs move a little. But he still lies there. He moves a couple of more times, and then goes still. Now the gang thinks he's dead. Just as Prez takes a step or two closer, the loner sits up, and the Prez stops in his tracks. This time, the loner gets up a little quicker. Once on his feet, the gang is dumbfounded, wondering how does this guy keep getting up after being shot. With that, the loner opens up his vest, revealing a Kevlar body armor underneath. Even though his vest kept him alive, taking the impact from the high-velocity rounds still hurts like hell, and does leave some serious bruising. When he went down, it wasn't just an act. Once up, the loner just stands there and shakes his head. Just then, all of the fiends whip out their guns. But before any of them are able to get a shot off, the loner opens fire, killing Sawblade, Dinosaur, and an unnamed fiend, saving Prez and Stevie still standing. The loner then runs to the sidewalk on his left-hand side and ducks behind a light post. There he continues to shoot. Prez and Stevie split off. Prez goes over to the opposite side of the street and ducks behind a mailbox. Stevie rushes over to the same side of the street that the loner is on. There on the sidewalk, the two face off, and before anyone realizes,
The loner cuts down Stevie, now leaving just himself and Prez. The loner calls out to Prez. "It's just you and me, Prez. Come on out and face me." Slowly, Prez comes out from behind the mailbox. He attempts to shoot at the loner with his handgun, but he is now out of ammo. He then runs out into the middle of the street where the AR-15 is lying on the ground. The loner allows Prez to get to it. But just before Prez grabs the assault rifle, the loner calls out to him. "Remember when you said that the one with the long gun will win? Let's see if that's true." Prez freezes and looks down at the AR-15 lying on the street, then quickly looks back at the loner. He is just inches away from grabbing it, but he tries to calculate what the loner will do and whether he can reach the rifle and shoot off a round before the loner shoots him down. There is a moment of suspense. The loner tilts his head as a way to tell Prez, "Go for it and see what happens." All of a sudden, Prez drops down and grabs it. But before he gets a chance to aim it at the loner, a blast goes off and Prez is knocked back as the loner opens fire one last time, killing Prez. He looks around and sees the carnage he left on the ground. Just as the loner begins to walk over to Prez's body, lying in the middle of the street, all of a sudden one more shot rings out. This time it's more of a thunderous boom. The loner spins around behind him to see where the shot came from. Up on the roof of a 2-story building is Gunny with another AR-15. He falls forward and down onto the street. The loner looks around to see where the shooter is. Down on the corner at the end of the block and across the street from where Gunny was, Pete is standing with a 12-gauge shotgun. He just saved the loner from getting shot in the back by Gunny. The loner and Pete walk closer together and meet somewhere halfway next to his bike. Loner thanks Pete for saving his life. "Looks like I owe you one, Pete." "Don't thank me. You're the one who cleaned up this town. I guess now I may stick around here after all," Pete says. "Well, it is peaceful here," the loner states. "So, what are you going to do now?" Pete asks. "I don't know. Between these two MCs, I made enough to hold me over for a while. In the meantime, I think I'm going to go ahead and get on the road," the loner says. The loner then asks for Pete's cell phone. There, he then pulls out his own phone. With that, the loner transmits some info over to Pete's phone. "Here you go, Pete. I just sent you GPS coordinates of the location of $2 billion somewhere in the middle of the Mexican desert." "What? Whoa, wait. Did you say $2 billion? Why aren't you claiming it?" Pete asked, dumbfounded. The loner just shakes his head. "I'm not one to get into the drug trade. Too much of a risky business for me. Besides, I don't know if I trust Jesus to keep his word, since I was involved with the hijacking of his shipment in the first place. I have a feeling he may not honor the 10 mil reward, but instead feed me to his tiger in the backyard. You have a far better chance of getting something out of this than I will." He puts out his hand to shake the loner's. "You take care of yourself, kid." They shake hands. "You do the same," the loner replies. With that, the loner gets on his bike and rides off into the sunset. Where he is heading is a mystery as much as where he came from, and as much of a mystery of who he is. Whoever this lone motorcyclist is, to some of those still living in the town of Redwater, he's a hero, a savior, someone who single-handedly eliminated the constant threat of death and violence, and then gave the town back to the citizens there, even as he mastered in death and violence himself. To the loner himself, it was not all about making things right. He did not think of himself as any kind of a hero or a do-gooder, but instead for him, it was just to capitalize on two gangs. The elimination for him was just a simple consequence as a result for his own profit. The end.